Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Squared Circle podcast, coming to you live from a bit global this week. Andy Evans here, of course, joining from Weymouth in England. If you might notice, I'm actually outside. I'm presenting this from out in the elements. In fact, for those watching on YouTube, what you can see on screen is my current setup. So I am literally presenting in the air, and it's bloody cold. Hence why I've got a fleece on. Also joining me this week is Stefan Bennett, normal partner in crime. I'm assuming it's equally not as cold as it is right now here in Kent.
Send it up here, mate. It's still really hot and humid here. So send it up here, please, mate.
It's cold. But one place I know is very wet at the moment is Toronto, Ontario in Canada, because joining us right now is my long-time close personal friend, to quote Mean Gene Oakland, a man that I haven't seen in a number of years, haven't spoken to in a couple of years because we kind of lost touch, as we always do. He is a podcasting legend. He is the former commentator for WXW. He used to work for WWE Home Video UK. He is an anime enthusiast. He is a New Japan Pro Wrestling biography. It's Jeremy Graves, otherwise known for old school listeners as WCW Forever on the TSC forum. Jezza, how you doing, my friend?
Doing good, thank you. Doing good. And I am literally sitting in my hotel room in Toronto at the moment so just to show how overtly British I have been in the last hour or so, I went out for a Nando's. And because I thought, I need proper podcasting food. That's how I describe it. And of course, as soon as I got out the hotel, downpour. It's like the world was trying to tell me something.
Look, our good friend Mike Maguire is also in Canada. I don't know what the weather's like where Mike is at the moment, but Canada always has the best weather. I'm afraid that. But we will send some to you.
A fun little story on the weather front, and this isn't me spoiling anything for what we're going to be discussing.
Okay.
So for context, everyone, I was at Forbidden Door a couple of days ago. That's kind of one of the primary reasons I'm sort of here today.
Yeah.
But the show ended at midnight local time. Legitimately, I was out. I got there at like 4 p.m. I was not out of that building until gone midnight. Took me about an hour or so to get back to where I am in the city centre because of people traffic and such. As soon as I step out the train station, it had been blazing sunshine, maybe like 26, 27 degrees C, just downpour, utter downpour. It was like the weather had waited for Forbidden Door to end and just decided, can't hold anymore, and just unleashed.
It's the Forbidden Weathergate. That's what Literally. It is. But that's a good segue for why you are here tonight, because it was accidental. I was surfing Twitter, as you do, just kind of very randomly, and oh my god, that's not good, and saw a post by Jeremy saying he was at Forbidden Door, and you were commenting, I think it was on the Ospreay match, the Ospreay Omega match, and I dropped you a quick message and saying, do you fancy coming on the show? We're live on Tuesday nights. If you're still in Canada, do you want to pop on? And you said yes, so we've now got a correspondent who was at Forbidden Door. So should we get to it? Shall we start talking about why we're all here? Which is kicking off right now, if I can find the link, because I can't see a thing. Which is the event centre. I really forget how loud those things are in my ears.
I wasn't going to say anything, but that's you.
They are loud.
They are loud.
I don't know what they come through, but they're loud. Anyway, Forbidden Door. It
was not a bore. I can assure you of that.
It was not a bore. I can guarantee you that. Quick round robin. It took place on Sunday night. Obviously, we know that it was one of those pay-per-views from AEW that they like to book at the last minute. It sort of had a ECW December to Dismember vibe, by not actually knowing the matches until about 24, 48 hours ahead of the card. Compare it to last year's. Better or worse than Forbidden Door? Anyone can answer this, by the way.
So I think there's two different scales to judge this by, because there is, in terms of leading to Forbidden Door last year, it was wrought with chaos, with injuries, people being sick, maybe because of COVID and such. I think Hiromu ended up missing the show at the last minute because he couldn't get on the plane because of COVID. So the story going into Forbidden Door was, what was this show even going to be last year? Because of all the injuries and all just, again, the chaos that was happening. Whereas this one, they announced the 2 big matches, and that was pretty much your unique selling point right there. These 2 matches are happening. Come watch. And anything else was just kind of like, I don't know, sprinkles like on a cake or something, pretty much.
Is that what made you want to? I mean, I don't know. I don't know if you're there on business. I don't know if you've gone there just to go to wrestling or AEW. Is that why you're in Toronto? Is that the reason?
So after the story time with Jeremy, folks, get used to this. So after the Tokyo Dome show happened on January the 4th, and there was Omega and Ospreay, that match was just so incredible. I just kind of thought, in general, there's going to be a rematch. Wherever it is, I'm going to give serious consideration to going. And the logical assumption immediately was, if there's going to be another Forbidden Door, because at this point, it wasn't confirmed in any way, shape, or form officially, I thought I will at least investigate what is the possibility of doing it. Then they announce it, and pretty much instantly just announce, yeah, this is happening. Big stuff's going to happen. And you kind of knew, well, there's one clear match that must be involving. So then I decide, okay, I'll get tickets for the show first of all, because if I don't have a ticket, there's no point in me going. Then I'll think about flights and hotels. And then I do all that, and then, of course, literally the day after I book, they announce All in London. So at that point, I kind of thought,
you're like,
oh, no.
Damn you, Khan.
Pretty much. But yeah, I just because it was such a unique event last year. Either way, I really wanted to go, but Omega and Ospreay and then Danielson and Okada was just instantly catnip for me. And it's like, yes, have to go. But then I thought, can I make a bit of a trip out of it? And so it was thinking, well, okay, there'll be the Dynamite and maybe something else after. So could I maybe hang around for that? Is there going to be any other shows around there? And at the time, Collision wasn't officially announced. So I already had the ticket for Forbidden Door without knowing that Collision was going to be the night before. So I ended up getting a ticket for that. But then I also thought, well, where could the last Dynamite be before Forbidden Door? And then it ended up being Chicago, but they announced it late, like really late, but by comparison. So I ended up managing to book the trip to start off in Chicago for a couple of days, tying in with that, then coming to Canada. But then at that point, Collision still hadn't been announced. So then after I'd booked my trip, they then announced Collision was going to start a couple of days before, and it was just too expensive to actually make that work and go earlier. So I've ended up staying later, and I'm going to Dynamite and Collision tomorrow and Thursday.
Oh my God. So you really have just lived and breathed all Elite Wrestling.
Pretty much, yeah.
and I mean, you know, we'll touch on Forbidden Door in a minute, but you've been a wrestling fan for as long as I've known you, if not longer. I mean, what, you're a lot younger than me, so...
Let me think. Probably early, mid-90s, I would say. My earliest wrestling memory is seeing a Macho Man Randy Savage figure in a Tesco in Boreham Wood in, like, North London.
Yeah, so it's got to be mid-90s then, really.
Yeah, exactly.
And, I mean, you've always been WCW, NJPW, WWF. I mean, where is AEW sitting for you now? Because, you know, I don't think they've had a bad show in about 3 or 4 months.
No, definitely not. There was the summer last year was a bit of a tumultuous time in terms of, yeah, exactly right. But honestly, just enjoy AEW. Is it perfect? No. I will quite happily say that, as I guess you could kind of call me a hardcore AEW fan given what I'm doing this week alone in many ways. But I just enjoy it for what it is. I really don't watch much WWE, to be honest. I kind of watch some clips online. If there's a match I hear was really good fun, I'll go out of my way to watch it and such. And I watch the pay-per-views where I can. I still do podcasts here and there sort of talking about those. So I try and at least keep up to date with things and such. But in general, my primary viewing is AEW and then just bits and bobs of Japanese wrestling and other things that come up in the conversation as well.
Well, it's definitely a good product to watch. I mean, you know, fair play. But the question is, are you all in at Wembley Stadium?
Oh, heck yeah.
So... because of the fact that you're all in at Wembley Stadium, and so are we, and you've obviously been to Forbidden Door, you have been a part of the largest recorded live gate record yet. Now, that's $1.2 million USD. Khan said Forbidden Door, drew one of the top 3 biggest live gates in the history of pro wrestling in Canada. WrestleMania X8 from Toronto tops the list with more than $3.9 million, and WrestleMania 6 from the Sky Dome is next with 3.4 million USD. The figure for Forbidden Door will not place it amongst the most for God's sake, will not place it amongst the most attended show in Canada, but for AEW, it's the largest gate up until August, where we know All In has completely smashed it, and the UK fans have gone all out to make it a seller.
Nice segue. Nice segue.
There you go.
Master of the puns. All right, let's kick it off then. Let's go through the card. We're not going to do this in match order because I can't remember what they were. Obviously, the first one that we saw was cancelled, and that was a bit of a disappointment for all of us watching. Can't imagine for you guys as well. Adam Cole, Bebe, against Filthy Tom Lawler, cancelled due to the flu. He did do a dark match against Serpentico. Did you see it? What was that match like?
Yeah, it was, for want of a better phrasing, it was kind of what you expect it would be. Sort of just like another bonus match on the show. And it started roughly 10-15 minutes before the pre-show actually began, so it wasn't going to be very long. There were cameras there, so they may upload it after the fact onto like the AEW YouTube or similar, so they were rolling, as it were. But yeah, pretty simple, just a kind of little showcase for Tom Lawler more than anything. In terms of how we found out in the building that match wasn't happening, we just saw Tony Khan's tweet. And then that just started going the rounds in the line, quite frankly. And we all just started going, oh, okay, well, that's not happening. But then, so this is kind of, in a way, a bit of a cynical part, because the conversation started off being, oh, yeah, I hope he's okay and everything. But then it turned to, does that mean the show's going to be shorter? Which ultimately, clearly it wasn't. Because we were all anticipating this. We were all anticipating this show was going to be about 5-6 hours long. So we were then wondering, does that mean matches are going to be longer as a result, or was this just timed out and whatnot?
I actually think the timing of the pay-per-view was pretty good. It didn't feel like a 4-hour pay-per-view. It went like that, especially that main event with Danielson and Okada and Omega and Ospreay, and the positioning of where they put the two main events with that trios match in between the the Sex Gods and Team Sting. That was beautifully placed. That really got the crowd come down, back up again, straight into that main event versus Okada. So the placing was brilliant. But let's kick it off with the pre-show. We're really going to talk about one of the matches because it's the Owen Hart Memorial Foundation Cup. Athena versus Billie Starkz on the buy-in. We all went, in terms of predictions, we all went for Athena to win it. I don't think you could go any way else except for go for Athena. But what was, from your perspective, this Owen Hart Foundation, how much of a big deal did they make of the cup across Dynamite and Forbidden Door?
So, okay. So this is now kind of me being perhaps the criticism part of an AEW fan now, because at Dynamite on Wednesday, we found out the brackets when they randomly showed them on screen for about 10 seconds.
Oh, wow.
Like, literally. And I quickly snapped a picture of it on my phone and started telling people around me. And, for example, it's like, we're getting Samoa Joe and Roderick Strong as a first-round match. Punk is wrestling at Forbidden Door. How have they just casually announced this? Like, oh, yeah, here's a cookie. That was kind of what it was, in a way.
Take my money.
So in terms of the brackets being announced, it was kind of just that it happened and it was blink and you'll miss it if you're in the arena. That's really what it was like. And then kind of analysing the matches after, I just thought, yeah, this is going to be a really good tournament. But there is a weird thing of, because it's all first-round matches, I don't think... Well, hang on, let me phrase this how I want to. Because the first match of the respective men's and women's tournaments took place at Forbidden Door. Well, Sky Blues was on Rampage, but that side. But the early matches were kind of just part of another bigger show, if that makes sense. Whereas this week on television, there is a proper focus on the remainder of the first round matches. So I actually feel they're giving it far more focus this coming week on the television shows compared to all the other shows they've done so far.
The thing is, though, I think they've actually dropped the ball with this, because if you look at last year's Owen Hart, it was Britt Baker and Adam Cole that won it, right? The two inaugural champions. Adam Cole disappears for 12 months because of the head injury and the concussions. Surely there would be, or there should be, Adam Cole and Britt Baker in the tournament, defending those. Even if they got a first round bye and went into the semis, they should be in this tournament defending it, because otherwise it's an Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal that doesn't mean anything, right? You've got some lineage, you've got some history, get the guys out there defending what they went through a tournament last year to win.
I totally agree with that. And my thoughts on that, though, is I think, I mean, obviously we know Adam Cole at the moment's got the flu, and hope he gets well soon. But I think where they're focusing on pushing Adam Cole to the title picture and keep him in and around that, I think that's probably one reason why they may have decided not to go with what you said. But apart from that, I totally agree with what you said. I think they should have the opportunity to defend their crown.
But I think you could build that into a storyline with the Adam Cole MJF.
Oh, absolutely.
In terms of MJF screwing over Adam Cole in that second round, making him lose the thing. I mean, this is what they're booking.
And I think this is exactly why. Yeah, go on, Jeremy.
No. After you, by all means.
And I was just it ties in with what you said at the start, which is this is why AEW is not perfect. It's great, but it's not perfect because we think that would be great booking. Because that would be to use it, turn it into a storyline, but it's AEW; they're not perfect. So,
yeah, and the thing I would add as well is the other sort of wrinkle, which adds to the not perfect element now, which sounds like we're just bashing AEW quite a lot. But they've got this tag team blind eliminator tournament, which they've never actually explained what it is, but it's clearly something like the old WCW Lethal Lottery or something like that. And that's now a decent reason why Adam Cole, in theory, isn't in the Owen Hart tournament, because you could say he's in another tournament, let alone being involved in the title picture. So there's kind of an out with that, but they haven't actually said that.
No, so it's just a bit backwards, isn't it? But anyway, going back to the results, Athena went over. She's qualified in the Owen Hart tournament. We kick off the main show, and we kick it off with MJF defending the All Elite World Championship in a match that he said he wasn't going to compete in. We even had a debate and an argument about it last week as to whether or not we would predict this match. I'm glad we did because I got the point. Against Hiroshi Tanahashi in really the match that would set the tone for the night. Because if your opening match is a dud, it sets it through. This was far from it. MJF proving why the Devil is one of the best world heavyweight champions in professional wrestling, especially in AEW.
Yeah, and the very interesting part about this was because I had a feeling, based on the reaction at Collision when there was the promo with him after Tanahashi's match with Swerve, that Canada's really going to like MJF a lot. And that was proven correct because the ovation he got was freaking massive. And I think in a way, Tanahashi was also quite surprised by that because there was a noticeable moment when you could see him going, oh, okay.
Yeah.
This is unexpected.
You could see that in his face, couldn't you? You could just see it. But the match was everything that you expected it to be and more. Tanahashi with great in-ring control, but MJF just proving why he is one of those pillars of All Elite, why he is the foundation of that company.
MJF really proved how much of a versatile wrestler he is in this because, again, this is going to sound awful to phrase it this way, but Tanahashi is not the wrestler he was.
No.
Like, if you've watched him like I have for a long time, you can tell he isn't moving as well, but he still gives it his all and does exactly what he can do to the best of his ability. But MJF worked around that tremendously, and it was a really fun match to watch. And I was still in my heart thinking, what if Tanahashi did win? That would just be really cool, just to kind of throw a little spanner in the works of everything else going on.
You see, if they do a Forbidden Door 3 and Tanahashi is on the card again, he's got to go for the World Championship because he's got his own Undertaker streak. The amount of times he can lose a World Championship match at Forbidden Door. He lost to Moxley last year at Forbidden Door. He's lost to MJF this year, so who's it going to be?
I mean, you're not wrong now you mention that, but that said though, it's funny as well because last year was technically the interim title, if I remember correctly.
It was. Yeah.
So it was. It's kind of he's technically now gone for 2 different championships in AEW and lost both of them.
Okay, so maybe what will happen is this is a bit of future booking. Tony Khan, if you're listening, I'm available for the book. We had an interim World Championship last year, proper World Championship this year. We'll have an incident happen at All Out in Chicago in September, and then what will happen is we'll hold up the belt and we'll do the interim and the world belt in a ladder match with Hiroshi Tanahashi on one side of the ring and the other person on the other side of the ring. There we go. Booked.
Cool. I agree. What I would say is the last time Tanahashi was in a match involving a ladder, it didn't end well for Kenta. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay, let's move on. He went to sleep, but in a different fashion, I would imagine.
Kenta got mullered in that match. Yeah. The way I'll phrase that.
Well, MJF versus Hiroshi Tanahashi was the kickoff match. We all got a point. We then moved in to Punk versus Satoshi Kojima in an Owen Hart tournament first round match, which, considering everybody was expecting it to be Kenta right up until, a couple of days before match time, this was a great substitute match because Kojima really did come out there and gave CM Punk a run for his money. This was a really good, hard, strong style match. And for all of the Punk naysayers, of which I'm one of them, he actually won some points from me in terms of how he can go out now and still perform. He gave it everything.
Yeah.
The thing about Kojima, to kind of add some context as to where he is at in his career, he's very much, you could just call him like a legend at this point. He's done so much in the world of wrestling that he's sort of at that point where every time someone gets to see him in person, it's like, oh, cool, get to see Kojima. But he's never really in the massive big match area now. He was recently GHC champion in Pro Wrestling Noah for a while, so that was kind of the most recent high elevation that he's been at and such. But he's not necessarily someone who will lead the company or who gets to have massive matches of this scale. Because it was a massive match, quite frankly. And I think a lot of people, like you say, were expecting Kenta. And I didn't think that was going to happen because it just kind of made me... to me, it seemed like there's too much talk from Kenta to indicate it's actually going to happen. That's kind of what I thought, if that makes sense. But Kojima was awesome, and this match was really good fun. I didn't see any other result than Punk winning, but the curious part in this, for me, going in, was how is this crowd going to react? Because at Collision the night before, there were maybe 6 or so thousand people in there in the 14,000 seat building, so you kind of got to gauge that, okay, yeah, gonna boo him a bit. There are definitely people who like him, but a lot of chants for Punk before the show, even at Forbidden Door and Collision, were just getting shut down like that in an instant by a whole bunch of people. And I now liken CM Punk to John Cena circa 2000, 2006, 2007, in that you've got that dueling chanting going on now of people who love him, people who don't. And that's what it's going to be now. And depending what country he's in, he'll just react accordingly. Unfortunately, he's in Canada for the next month, so I think we know what the reaction's going to be for a while.
What do you think the reaction in the UK is going to be like?
50-50.
50. You think it's going to be?
I think it'd be more. I think it'd be more 70-40 pro Punk, because I mean, even now, when I go to WWE live events beforehand, there's still CM Punk chants. Mm-hmm. You just cannot avoid them. There's just all the time.
I wonder if that's because you get those smart marks. You still go wanting to get their voice heard.
Probably,
it's the cool thing to do, the Punk chant, isn't it? But just going back to Kojima. He actually tweeted out following Forbidden Door saying, AEW Canada tournament is over. To be able to fight such a big name one-on-one in such a big venue at this age in career, I was able to gain new experience points. I have more happy memories in my professional wrestling life. I would like to say thank you from the bottom of my heart to Punk and AEW. Then, in a separate tweet, and I find this one quite funny, he actually...
I know what you're going to say. This is so good. If it's the one I really good.
Okay, he went, come to think of it, why did the company decide to put me in a match with Punk? But I don't care what happened. The important thing is that my experience has improved. I'm honoured to continue the job. Thanks, Punk-san. That says it all, right? I mean, even I was sat there going, why is Kojima in this match against CM Punk? Why are they not putting him against one of the Youngbloods? But it worked. And as Sam in our chat room has put, he was brilliant.
Yeah. Really was. So there's a fun. There are a fun few little inside baseball stories from this match as well, which I feel free just to kind of cut me off if you want.
No, go for it. Go.
But so back in 2005-ish, CM Punk and Samoa Joe did a shoot interview with Ring of Honor. Okay. And in that, Punk tells a story about how he pranked Gabe Sapolsky, the booker at the time, and posed as homicide on the telephone, telling him he was now going to move to Puerto Rico because he's been offered a full-time deal and he's going to be able to go and tour with All Japan and face wrestlers like Kojima. And he was saying that he kept kind of doing an impersonation of being like, Kojima, Lariat, Kojima, Lariat. And during the match, Punk literally was referencing that when he was doing the Lariats in the corner and shouting Kojima and Lariat. We could see it on the big screen, but we couldn't hear what he was saying. But when I got back to the hotel and I looked up the clip, laughing so hard. But another fun moment in the match, which Kojima himself has readily acknowledged, is that he did a top rope elbow drop, and the way he landed, he caught Punk, let's just say, quite low.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And so Kojima acknowledged this after the fact in a tweet, which I will amend for the purposes of the show here.
Please.
But he said, my elbow drop did hit his word.
Yep.
Sorry. But not on purpose. Accident. Because I don't have that kind of technology.
Do you know what? And I don't mean this. I don't want this to come out racist, but I sometimes love reading the tweets on the Japanese performers. They are hilarious with the use of English and the fact they come across.
The other thing that was such good fun though as well, like on Collision, they kind of showed promos hyping up the first round matches, and they got comments from like Punk when he got mortally booed in the arena as well.
Yeah.
That it was like saying, it's gonna be an honor to be in the ring with Kojima, and then they show a clip of Kojima saying some stuff in Japanese with subtitles, and the final subtitle, which according to Kojima was mistranslated, was him saying, "I'm gonna kill him."
It's nothing like letting the gauntlet down. You know, he was all in for that match.
We laughed so hard in the arena when that came, because it was just such an out of context line.
I bet. Oh, it sounds brilliant. All right, next up then, we are going to a fatal four-way for the AEW International Championship. New Japan World TV Champion, UK Zone, the legend Zack Sabre Jr., the ROH Pure Champion Katsui Shibata, Daniel Garcia, and the defending international champion, the man who really should have dropped the belt this past Sunday because of this storyline, Orange Cassidy. Just before we get to the result, I'm the only one in the group that got a point. I went Orange Cassidy to retain that title. He deserved it, but this, you want to talk about hard-hitting matches, this was brilliant, and this feud between him and Zack Sabre Jr. is not over.
This was one of the matches of the night. It really was. In the building, it was such good fun, so many different dynamics. There's also kind of a bit of very intriguing, potentially like backstage related things, because Katsuyori Shibata, famously at the Tokyo Dome, one of the Tokyo Dome shows, he had like his first wrestling match after his horrific head injury and whatnot, everything he went through. And it was meant to be like a little exhibition match, kind of like a 5-minute exhibition. But as Kevin Kelly put on commentary, he went into business for himself, got on the microphone and said, "No, we're going to have a full-blown match." And he's not wrestled on a single New Japan event since. So technically, this was his first New Japan branded event he's wrestled on since that, even though he's been like the trainer of the LA dojo and stuff and regularly wrestles for Ring of Honor. So very kind of weird politicking thing going on. But this was just such a fun match to watch. Zack, I'm sure, was in full-blown ham it up, I'm British mode, which was very obvious in the arena, and I was laughing at a bunch of stuff. Go on.
No, go on, Jez.
It was just overall just such a really fun match, and every time there is a title defense now for Orange Cassidy, I just think he surely has to lose it here, right? But every time I don't want him to, because I want this to continue, because it's such good fun.
This just so reminds me of the Ric Flair Shawn Michaels storyline from WrestleMania, where Michaels goes, "Sorry, I love you," and then did the super kick. I really want someone to do that to Orange Cassidy. Someone like, I don't know, one of the best friends like Trent Barretta or Danhausen to come out and do it, just to kind of cut the promo, do it, take it off him and win the thing. I want to give a shout out very quickly to someone on Twitter who is the username Felfloney.
I know Felfloney very well.
They put, "I wish I knew where the chat room was to join in, but you guys are nailing it. Head to YouTube and search for the Squared Circle podcast. If you do that, we are live. You can click on the link and you can join the interactive chat room, just like Sam is doing at the moment, who is saying that Zack Sabre Jr. will win the International Championship at All In."
Get well, Sam, as well. Get well, mate.
I think that is a very good shout.
I was just going to say, just on that match as well, you just said, like, surely he's going to drop it now. I could not, for the love of money, see him walking out with that title with those guys in the ring with him. I thought surely one of those are going to have to take the title off him. And I was amazed that he got it, but, fair enough. It's only a matter of time, obviously.
Yeah, and part of me after the match, given that it was kind of the 3 champions in the ring and Daniel Garcia just sort of wasn't about, it makes me think, are we going to get some kind of winner takes all situation? Which that would be very intriguing in and of itself, especially because the pure title rules are so different as well. So would they factor that into the equation? There's a lot of ways they can go with this. But I really, really want to see Zack and Orange Cassidy, partly because Zack just keeps calling him, pardon my language, Orange Bollocks, and it makes me laugh every single time.
It's going to be interesting. Well, Orange Cassidy retained it. I don't know if I've mentioned, but I was the only one who got the point in the prediction league.
Of course you did.
Yeah, don't know if I mentioned it. But
no, of course you mentioned it, yeah.
Then we had the AEW Women's World Championship match. It was Toni Storm and the Outcasts, accompanied by Ruby Soho and Saraya. Facing, you went a bit dark there, mate.
Sorry, I tried to grab my water bottle and hit a light switch by accident. Sorry.
Facing off against the New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong Women's Champion, I think one of the future of the AEW Women's Division, Willow Nightingale. Really impressed by Willow over the last few months in terms of what she's done.
So I really liked this match, but in the context of the show, where it was, it didn't help it. Because one of the things that was very apparent from the people I was sitting around was a lot of people in the arena, and I don't know how this came across on camera, had very much decided, okay, whatever is kind of like the match after, well, depending on the ordering, essentially, they kind of went, whatever is going to be like roughly an hour and a half before the end of the show, / after maybe whatever is the big match in the middle, because we weren't anticipating Omega Ospreay and then Danielson and Okada to be literally one after another.
No. People
kind of were saying, I'm probably going to use that match around that point in the show as a pee break or to go and get, a drink or something if they hadn't already. And unfortunately, this match happened, if I remember correctly, right after Omega and Ospreay. And the arena emptied.
No, it didn't. It happened. I think it was before Omega Ospreay, because after that was the Jericho tag match.
It was, sorry. A lot's happened with wrestling people.
You've seen a lot of wrestling. Don't worry.
Yeah, but either way, though, the arena, so many people were leaving, and I was really angry about it. Especially because a bunch of folks said, look, I'd much rather the CM Punk match be in the middle of the show because I don't care about him, and I want to walk out of it and just go and get a drink.
Wow.
But unfortunately, that's just the way it goes. But there were so many people that left during this, and it was gutting to see, because Willow and Tony are awesome. Also, Willow's theme song, you can't not clap to it live. It's really infectious. Willow is awesome. Her personality is just wonderful. And you care when she's wrestling. She just has that emotional attachment to an audience.
It's funny, I used to have Jack Perry's Tarzan Boy as my ringtone. But I think I might have to change it to Willow Nightingale. It is kind of,
It's an earworm. I
don't know why I'm admitting that.
And what you said, Jeremy, about the people, they're walking out there, it reminds me, and you'll appreciate because WCW, as much as you love WCW, always goes back to the times where, and I remember it on the Rise and Fall of WCW documentary as well, and obviously I used to watch WCW religiously back then, when you would see guys like Jericho and Eddie wrestle, and they were putting on possibly the best matches of the night on Nitro, and you would always see the people in the background talking to each other, people going up and down the stairs, going to get drinks or going for a pee break, and that's the thing. It's, you kind of understand where they're coming from, where it's kind of like, I'd rather it be a Punk match or it be during a match when someone's wrestling that I don't care about. But it is really such a shame to see, especially when you pay that money to go and you're missing what turns out to be an incredibly fantastic match. It's such a shame. But, always reminds me of those days and that.
Well, Sam's put in the chat room, Willow is the future of the women's division. I think that's not a bad call, actually. What is interesting is going back to your point, Jeremy, about people getting up to leave in this match, but rather going in the Punk match. What does that say about the women's division of AEW, that, you want to stay and watch a women's match? I mean, that is a massive change from 12 months ago when people were complaining about the state of the women's division in all of them.
Yeah, and I think this also adds into the point, going earlier about how AEW is not perfect, but this is more from an overall production standpoint.
Yeah.
Because when it is a 5-hour show, at any point, someone's eventually got to go for a pee or needs to get a drink. Heck, I dived out to get a very quick drink during, I think, as a wrestler was leaving and before the next entrances started. I needed a drink. And I thought, right, this is the time. Sometimes you just got to do it, quite frankly.
The balance is weird, isn't it? Because we criticize WWE for doing match, advert, 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 match, advert, 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 match, advert, advert. Filling it up to make a 4-hour pay-per-view where really it could be down to 2.5. So you're bored, aren't you? Because you've got the match, you've got so many breaks. But with AEW, they don't give you chance. They could do with putting some promos in. They've got Renee Paquette, for God's sake, utilize her, do some backstage promos just to give it that old school feel. And like you said, let everyone have a pee break.
They could have done like a 5-minute DraftKings promo and everyone would have appreciated it.
Well, they did. Yeah. They did on the pay-per-view. But on the pay-per-view, they did. They played a promo for DraftKings, which we can't play over here, which is annoying.
I wish they'd done it at WrestleMania 38 in Dallas last year, that they had done what they did at WrestleMania this year, where it was all these adverts and everything like that. Because it was, everything with Mania last year was just like one thing after the other. There wasn't much breathing space in between everything, especially when you was there live. But watching at home at WrestleMania this year, you're sitting there going, the amount of ads is crazy. I could have probably have got an Uber, gone shopping in Walmart, come back, and there'd still be ads on before the next match.
And that's purely because of the fact that WWE in America is on Peacock, and they have like the whole ad-free tier, and that's kind of why we get those video packages as an international fan, which is annoying. But yeah, above all else, it was just really annoying as a fan, just watching how many people were choosing this moment. But at the same time, I didn't hold it against them, knowing how long this show was probably going to be.
And also, when else were you going to go? Because like you said, you had Ospreay Omega, you're not going to want to miss that one. You had Suzuki Gods and Team Sting, you're not going to want to miss that one. And you're definitely not going to want to miss the Elite versus BCC or Okada Danielson. So really, you're screwed. You've got to go in one of them, haven't you? So unfortunately, that's the one.
I suppose another element to add to that as well is in terms of, this is kind of the cynical wrestling fan side now coming out, but when you think of, okay, what in theory are perhaps the most, for want of a better word, inconsequential matches that if I did miss, I wouldn't, perhaps be too annoyed about. For a bunch of people, it would have been Kojima, because realistically, I don't think anyone thought Kojima was going to win, regardless. No. The other one that you could say, unfortunately, is I don't think anyone expected Willow to defeat Toni Storm for the title. Especially when you suddenly saw that Saraya and Ruby were there as well. And you just thought, okay, well, I know exactly how this is going to go.
This was a filler match. I mean, it is what it was. It was a fact of putting the champions on screen. They've got to do something, though, because I do reckon you're going to get Saraya with the AEW Women's Strap It All in Wembley. They have to.
Or it'll be Jamie Hayter if she's...
Or it'll be Jamie if she's back, if Paige is back. But Toni Storm retains, as I and Stefan predicted. Sam went with Willow Nightingale. It would have been a swerve. It would have been a unique swerve. And obviously they're teasing up Britt Baker versus Ruby Soho in the Owen Hart, which is going to be, cracking. Really good match. IWGP World Heavyweight Championship match. Sonata defending against Jungle Hook. Jungle Boy Jack Perry, accompanied to the ring by the handsome devil himself, Hook, with the FTW Championship. Honest to God, no one on this team thought Jack Perry had a chance of walking out as the IWGP Heavyweight Champion. But I'm going to raise 2 points. One, I thought Jack Perry did a cracking job in that match, hanging with Sonata, and that's made him. Following on from that Double or Nothing match against MJF and the Pillars. And two, the heel turn is just what he needed to freshen up that character. Now get rid of the music. Now get rid of this whole Jungle Boy thing and go down that heel route. He needed this, and I think this is the right time.
I got from that match everything I wanted from that match that I didn't think I was going to get, but hoped for. As you said, he hung with Sonata, and I think it was essential for him to look good in that match, coming off of that four-way match as well, to keep him looking strong. But I've wanted that heel turn for so long. I was so annoyed when it was Luchasaurus that turned heel and he was still a face. I wanted it to be the other way round, and I'm so glad that we've got it. And I'm really excited now. I'm actually invested to see where we go from here when Dynamite takes place this week, where he said to Renee, "You'll get your answers there." I'm now actually invested in Jack Perry to see where he goes from here.
What was it like in the arena when that happened, when he took out Hook?
So Before I get to that, to double back for a second, because this may add some interesting context in that I don't know why it slipped my mind during our last conversation about matches that were inconsequential. This was probably also, to a decent amount of people, a very inconsequential match, because realistically, and Jack Perry's a great wrestler, but why the heck would he beat Sanada?
Yeah,
like just this again was another surefire thing, but because he had Hook with him, there was always that element something may happen, and that's what made people stick around. I think a vast majority of the crowd, I don't know how it came across on TV, were just there to see what was going to happen.
Yeah.
A lot of people weren't invested in it. I don't know if it's because maybe Sanada, I think actually this may have been like Sanada's debut match in AEW. He did like an appearance at the end of Rampage, of which if you haven't seen the match that Jungle Boy had with Doki on Rampage that took place in Chicago, go and watch that, because basically the crowd turns Jack Perry heel because they get really behind Doki. Nothing to do with the fact that his name sounds very similar to Dookie, and we'll have to talk about that. But they basically were making Jack Perry become angrier during the match, and you started getting hints during the match, and they showed it on camera, that he was getting angry with the crowd. So it actually was a perfect lead-in to him then turning after Hook was clearly giving him like a pity hug at the entrance ramp. But when it happened, everyone was just finally like, oh my God, yes, it's happened, finally. And it was, again, the cynical production side of me now, it was obvious something was going to happen because it was the one match where the lights around ringside did not dim after the match had finished. Because they cut to the commentators who were like talking about something, and notably you could like see that there was a cameraman following Jack Perry and Hook up the ramp, and you thought, okay, are they just going to kind of show them like a little race or something? Something is going to be shown. But then when it actually happened, it went over like great, so good. And when he started mocking the whole like little pose thing on the camera, we all just died laughing, and it was like perfect. But now, what I want to know is he going to come out to like an emo metal version of the Jungle Man thing?
Oh God, I bloody hope so. I tell you,
And in terms of the direction he's going to go next, I have two ideas. One of which I think would render the past year of content for him worthless, but I think another one would be very intriguing. Now that Luchasaurus is heel with Christian, what if Jack Perry decides to go back to Christian and kind of rekindle that trio, but as a heel trio now? Maybe that could be interesting.
I could see that. I could see them doing that. The mentor figure, when I was left on my own, I didn't achieve anything. Maybe you were the one that led me there. Yeah. Have some things with his mum saying you're turning your back on the family. Okay, fine. Christian's my family. That could work. That would be really good. What's the second idea?
So since
this is out there. This is out there.
Since Don Callis has turned on Omega and he's brought Takeshita as like his protege and whatnot, he's regularly been saying, I'm going to be building a family.
Oh, yeah.
And so what if Jack Perry aligns himself with Don Callis, who, in terms of being a mouthpiece, would be fantastic for Jack Perry and kind of helping him develop as a character and whatnot? I think that might be a really interesting direction they could go in with that.
Exactly, because one thing Jack Perry cannot do is talk on the mic. He sucks. I love this. Click hopping in the chat room. 3 heels, freels. I can't say it because I've got a lisp, but it certainly works. That would definitely work. I think that's a great idea. What's going to happen tomorrow night on Dynamite? Jeremy can let us know.
Apparently he's gonna be doing a promo before the crowd, so I guess we'll find out in Hamilton tomorrow.
Oh yeah, Sam's put in the chat room that Jack Perry will debut a new look and a new gimmick on Dynamite. So
will he cut his hair though? Will he cut his hair?
He kind of has to, I think. Who was the one who did it? There was
remember testing his testicles?
Tested it, yeah, tested it.
No,
Wardlow, wasn't it? Wardlow did it recently. When he came back with short hair.
There was a major superstar who had really long hair and cut it, and he came out in a I don't know.
Christian did it once, if I remember correctly.
Christian did it. Edge did it. That's right, Edge. When he became the Rated R superstar, he cut the whole head, and he needs it just to freshen up the look. But okay, that went completely different to where I thought it was going to go. Right, next up. was a match where I can honestly say nobody on the team got a point, because no one expected the Elite and Eddie Kingston and Tomohiro Ishii to go over the Blackpool Combat Club, Takeshita and Shooter Umino. Takeshita, I can't say it.
Takeshita.
Yeah, him as well. Didn't expect it. I thought it was going to be the BCC all the way.
Yeah.
This was another 5-star match and continuing this feud. The only thing I don't get about it is why they're still called the BCC, because they're obviously not from Blackpool. That's a William Regal link. Technicality aside, you talk about matches that were on that card that were up there, this was definitely one of them.
One of the matches of the night. This was fantastic in the building. The first moment where you saw Moxley and Kingston just going eye to eye, just the whole place just suddenly turned, the emotion level just turned up to like 100 from about a 70, and it was already everyone just thinking, we are in for a fun ride here. And it was just such good fun, so much going on, just so much action. Takesh to look like $1 million in this match when it looked like he knocked out Ishii. And I think this was the first time those two had ever wrestled in the ring as well, because Takeshita used to be affiliated with the DDT promotion in Japan rather than New Japan. So I think it's kind of the first time they've kind of crossed paths, if you will. And they're both kind of like the same as each other in some ways. Ishii's just like the Stone Pitbull. That's his whole moniker. And Takeshita nearly knocked him the heck out based on what happened in the match. Everything about this was just such good fun. It was chaotic. It was frantic. The Blackpool Combat Club clan, in this instance, if you will, with everyone coming out through the crowd the way they did to Moxley's New Japan music as well, added a different level of aura and intrigue to it, because you thought, okay, we're getting something different here. It's not like Wild Thing here. We're not getting that.
I can't stand that. Him having that Wild Thing. It just doesn't fit. It really doesn't.
I think sometimes it depends. It depends on the context of what's going on. Because if it's like him coming out for a promo, then you're like, okay, what randomness is he gonna say now? Enlighten me, John. What's on your mind?
Have you just changing subjects quickly? You know the Fight Forever video game, which is coming out. Have you heard that there is a code that you can put in for fantasy matches, which apparently one of them is doing a match where Jon Moxley can't bleed?
Did you hear the other thing that was unveiled today? Although we're still waiting for the game makers, developers to do the screenshots.
Is this about the leak of the supposed game mode that's been?
Yes, this online multiplayer of the Stadium Stampede, and you can see them like already on horses and stuff, and people have just going, "Oh, I'll buy the DLC pack where I can buy 12 horses and stuff like that." It's just, love it. That is, they put a lot of thought into the fun aspect of this game. They're definitely selling it now.
Well, one thing I can say is they promoted it enough over the past 3 weeks. It's all over the place. But, yeah, so that was that match. The Elite, Eddie Kingston and Ishii going over. Led us into one of the double main events. I mean, this match, this card was built for me on 3 matches. The Elite and the BCC, Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay, and Danielson versus Okada. MJF versus Tanahashi was a nice little bonus, but it was these 3 matches that this card was built on. We moved in to Kenny Omega, Will Ospreay, the rematch from Wrestle Kingdom. The video package set the scene. They have made Ospreay, he was already a star, but they have made Ospreay look like one of the biggest heels in professional wrestling. He is phenomenal. And that nice little subtle touch on the intro, the aerial assassin. He hasn't used that moniker for a while.
He last used it at the first match with Omega. Because the whole idea going into that match was he had to channel a different side of him that's not been around for a while to be able to try and defeat him. And I'll tell you what, listening to that live, that song is a damn earworm. I literally cannot get that song out of my head. For the past couple of days, just hanging around with a few people I've met over the weekend, I just kept humming the song. It just wouldn't go away.
That is my new takeaway from this show, earworm.
There you go.
You are.
It's my new word. Thank you, Jeremy. That's now stuck in my head. It's earwormed itself in. But, I don't know what else to say about this match. It was one of those matches where you sit there and you're engrossed. You don't want to move. You don't want to look away because you think you're going to miss something. You don't want to look away to pick up your drink or check your phone or whatever, because you just think you are going to miss something. And you add in then that X factor of Don Callis.
I was so annoyed when he got involved. I was so angry.
Didn't need it.
Sorry, I've just seen a message in the chat. There's a if you've ever heard of a cartoon called Spider Riders, which is also equally an earworm, it's really, really bad. Google it. Trust me, you'll hate it. So the thing about Don Callis was I got angry that he got involved because I wanted this to be one-on-one so badly. Because I just, in the context of Callis turning on Omega, I got it to a degree, but Omega doesn't need Ospreay doesn't need Don Callis, and I think that was echoed after the match. There was a video that AEW uploaded of after the match backstage, where I think Ospreay pretty much told Callis, "All right, we're done, head off." Yeah. Kind of, it was like a one-time deal, get the heck away. But I don't know how this came across on TV. I've seen the odd clips, including that Tiger Driver, which, holy heck, when I happened in the building, I was like at the back of the lower tier. There was scaffolding above me. I nearly jumped into the scaffolding because that's how much I leapt at thinking I just saw someone perish. But the emotion in this building, and I put this on my Twitter, was I liken the feeling in the building to being an incredibly heated, high-profile, feisty derby match in football. In that you've got two of the biggest teams facing each other. Will Ospreay was the away team, and there's hardly any of the away fans inside that building. And the few people that there were perhaps weren't being too vocal because, quite frankly, at this point, a lot of people had a lot of beer. If I'm going to be honest, there was a very inebriated guy next to me who was very pro-Canada. And when Ospreay started doing the whole Canada flag stuff, I decided I really want to cheer for Ospreay now, just in the context of this match. I'm not going to, just in case.
Yeah, safe bet. Wouldn't do that.
But just the emotion in this building when the biggest rush I've ever had at a wrestling show was when I think it was Ospreay hit the one-winged angel on Omega. And everyone just collectively thought, that's it, it's done. And I think he gets a 1 count, and suddenly Omega starts doing the equivalent of like a Hulk up, and the building just suddenly goes mental. It is one of the biggest rushes I've had. And then there was another instance where there was a 2 count, and Omega just gets his foot on the rope, and we all thought that was it. It must be the end. This match was absolutely fantastic, but live. That isn't me just trying to do a flex of I was there. It was such a ride being there. I'm glad from what I have heard in the few clips I've seen that translated to television.
Oh,
it was phenomenal.
It certainly did. And I know a lot of people who have reviewed the show have said Okada Danielson was match of the night. I would go as far to say that this was in some ways better than Okada Danielson because you were lit. The problem with, even though I said earlier on it was a good booking by doing this match, then a cool down, then the main event because you needed it. By the time watching it on TV, and I can only imagine what it was like in the arena, you got to Okada Danielson, you were wiped, you were burnt out. Omega and Ospreay, they took it. They took you to the limit. And as Sam's put in the chat room, it was a 7-star match, the match of the
match of the decade.
Match of the decade. Thanks. I couldn't even read that. Match of the decade. It's certainly a match of the year contender for any company. Is it better though than Wrestle Kingdom?
I would have to go back and watch it, but I'm initially, not just because I was there, but in terms of the storyline elements of it, I think it was because the whole idea of the first match was it's the first time out, and you kind of got a bit more of a psycho version of Kenny Omega. And maybe Ospreay had like a game plan. He was going to channel the aerial assassin elements of his game plan he'd not used in a long time.
Yeah.
But then Omega was at just a different level. He was being brutal, putting him through the table face first and stuff like that. And Ospreay made it clear he was coming out for revenge leading into this. And there were moments where he was mimicking what Omega had done to him at the Tokyo Dome, trying to put Omega's face through the edge of the table that was really bendy, and he couldn't do it. So eventually gave up, but still made sure to slam his face really hard into the table 3 times, which were crisp sounding from where I was in the lower tier. Like there was no microphones needed. I heard it, just plain as day.
So if you heard it, imagine if Omega felt it. That's all I'm going to say about that.
I can't wait. I can't wait for the trilogy, the third, and who takes it. I can't wait.
I don't think you're going to get one.
I think there will be one at some point. Most huge rivalries, they usually go to a third, and I'd love to see it.
Well, they've both gone on Twitter, and Omega wrote, "I lost and Will was the better man tonight. The US belt is in good hands. Keep Don away from it." Ospreay then wrote, "Kenny Omega is once in a lifetime. There will never be anyone that will be able to master the craft the way he has. Overcoming him was legitimately the most challenging and yet rewarding task of my life. Well, everyone can say they're all elite. You can say you're above all elite." So, I don't know. I see where you're going. I just kind of think maybe this is it, because technically this is the third match between those two, right?
This is number 2.
It's number 2, so they did do it at Wrestle Kingdom. I thought they did it before. So, I don't know. I think you can go to the well once too many times. And if they are going to do the third one, it's got to be at Wrestle Kingdom. It can't be at All In, which was another rumoured match to take place.
My thinking on this, and first of all, I agree with you, because the way I look at this is a New Japan storyline.
Yeah.
So I see this having to be on a New Japan branded event. This was a crossover, but this makes sense in that context.
Yeah. Yeah.
If we're going to get any kind of interaction between the two ahead of Wrestle Kingdom, I could see it being the Elite v the United Empire at All In. So it would be the Bucks and Omega against Ospreay and maybe Aussie Open, for example. Because as a 6-man tag match, it'd be freaking phenomenal, quite frankly.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, of course it would. Yeah. And Aussie Open have signed with All Elite. They are All In. They are All Elite, aren't they?
Yeah. But they've also been with New Japan for so long as well, and there's that connection of the United Empire, so it makes complete sense as well.
I mean, let's put it frankly, Ospreay has had a cracking couple of years, but especially the last 6 to 8 weeks for Will Ospreay have been tremendous. 1PW at Devil's Due, that great match with the 1PW Championship against Matt Cardona, headlining Doncaster. I mean, that was just off the charts as well. He's also at Rev Pro at Epic Encounters. That's going to be a great contest. He's on fire, Ospreay.
I'm sure his body is feeling like it's on fire today, though. But
I was about to say, he's on fire, but really, how long does Ospreay have left?
I mean, he himself has just said, you know what? I think he actually said in the post-match media scrum that he is going to start dialing it back a little bit, because the reason he's been doing so much was he wanted to help. I can't remember the exact wording, so don't quote me on this, but he in essence said, I wanted to help British wrestling get back to the place where it was before everything had to lock down and such, and before things got gutted by WWE and whatnot. He hasn't said that specifically, but has implied that. And he's definitely done it.
That. Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean,
we discussed it a few weeks back, didn't we? I think, Andy, we actually said about what would be next for Ospreay, and I can see him maybe doing a tour back home on the Indies, and then basically maybe just going to just coaching and doing seminars once, and maybe doing sporadic appearances.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very much special attraction.
He is special attraction. He's a special person.
But yeah, live though, this was utterly incredible. It's an experience and a rush. I don't know if it will ever be able to be replicated for me as a wrestling fan. Literally, that match may be the peak of my wrestling fandom. That is how much of an experience that was. That's not to say everything else now is just going to be like pants, but that's how much of an impression it left in the building. And I think that football mentality, like I've described, just how passionate those Canadian fans were. That said, there were a fair amount of people near me who were like, look, we know you're going to a trilogy. Will get your win. Omega will get his win back. There was kind of a few thoughts on that as well, because like you were saying a few moments ago, usually you would get a trilogy of something like this. And it makes sense from that perspective. But yeah, now that we've had the first 2 matches in the first half of this calendar year, it wouldn't surprise me if we don't get it to Wrestle Kingdom. And I think it's pretty big enough to headline as well.
Yeah, I've no problem with that either.
And I haven't got a problem with that. I think less is more sometimes, and we've done 2 in 6 months. Give it a rest now. As much as they're cracking matches, give them a rest, because you can only take so much. Okay, so 2 matches left on the card to talk about. One of them is coming up next. It is the match featuring Chris Jericho, Sammy Guevara and Minoru Suzuki facing off against Sting, Darby Allin, and the man they announced this past weekend, Tetsuya Naito. 6-man trios action. This was okay. It wasn't. This is what you expect from a Jericho match these days. You know, it was okay.
This had to follow Omega Ospreay. That was the first problem.
Yeah.
That's the thing. But also this is a very chaotic match for other reasons. In that it was not just to sound like a real kind of smart, snarky fan here. It was clear things weren't going perfectly. It was
you
just
see that too, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, put it this way: the moment that Sting got put through the table by Sammy, and Sting was immediately standing up, I thought, "What's happened?" Because actually, from my vantage point, I see Sammy go through the table with Sting, and I kind of can't really tell what's happening because of people standing up down there. But then the next thing I see is Sting trying to get in the ring and then walk across the ring while there's a pinfall going on one of his teammates, and he steps out. And I'm literally saying with people around me, Sting, break out the pin. Sting.
What's going on?
And we're all having a little bit of a crack up over it, but it's just... there were just some very weird moments in this match. There were some great moments in this match. Like the moment when we got the stare down with Suzuki and Sting, and Jericho is trying to be like a little child at Christmas being, me, tag me in, me. And Suzuki just being like, no.
Why?
It was just little things like that.
I've got to throw to this comment in the chat room, which has just made me chuckle because I've known you for years now. Jeremy, the least snarky or grumbly person in the world. I don't want to sound like I'm being really snarky. XD, that's from Claire. Yeah, very, very true there. Sam, the Suzuki gods should have won. I'm very glad they didn't. It's leading up, isn't it, to Sting versus Jericho?
I mean, there's a follow-up on Dynamite this Wednesday after what happened in the media scrum, which I'm guessing Jericho got in trouble for after the fact as well.
Okay, was it all in-esque? You know, was it all out-esque? Are they trying to go for that? I'm joking. We're going.
I mean, if you know, clobbering a bottle of water with a baseball bat that goes into someone and makes them start bleeding, you know, that's one way of happening. But either way, they have announced it's Painmaker Jericho and Sammy against Sting and Darby, which I'm gonna guess Sammy's gonna like go, Jericho, I'm done.
Who needs to?
I kind of hope so because he is so over now. I mean, he is. What was the reaction like for Kavara in the arena? Because I mean, he got a relatively good one on camera.
I mean, from what I recall, it wasn't anything untoward because he didn't. For want of better phrasing, he didn't. Not everybody did a lot in the match.
Yeah.
Sammy's big moment was the table, which, based on what I've kind of been reading and listening to, it sounds like that maybe Sting should have got out of the way of the table because as soon as that happened, Sammy wasn't in the match anymore at all.
Yeah, the problem is you've got a 60-year-old man who's trying to get away from a table. Sting can't move very well at the best of times.
Yeah, but you know, he's got 630 degrees of revolutions to get out the way of, you know.
Sting can't move at the best of times, Jeremy. It's not WCW.
I mean, this is the thing. Are we most likely going to get Sting Jericho at All In? I mean, this would have been a cool match 15, 20 years ago. I mean, I think it'd still be a load of fun. I think most fans in attendance at Wembley would probably just be like, we don't really care what Jericho does as long as we all get to sing Judas in Wembley Stadium. I think that's pretty much sums up what people want from Jericho.
Can I make a prediction on that? Because I want that on record now.
Okay.
I fully expect Fozzy will play out Jericho at Wembley. Jericho will sing it so he can say that Fozzy have played at Wembley Stadium.
That's not a bad shout, actually. That I could see that. I could see that.
We'll have to wait.
And then he'll be out of breath to actually do the match because he'll be so excited.
He'll most likely have a medical emergency and not be able to perform. That's what happened last time Fozzy came to the UK. But we won't touch on that, shall we?
They're actually playing in the Kentish Town Forum 2 nights before All In.
Okay, so that's pretty much confirmed what you've just said, that Fozzy will be, escorting him down to the ring. Okay, let's go for the main event then. Bryan Danielson, Okada. First things first, okay? The final countdown.
So, I know before on air we said we're going to try and keep this clean and whatnot. I have to utilize a swear word here. I lost my shit when this song started. So much, as did everyone.
It was so good. It was so good.
But And also, just to address Claire in the chat, yes, Chris Jericho was Captain Spectacular on Devin Townsend's Ziltoid albums. Fun fact. If you're familiar with Devin Townsend, great musician, check him out.
Claire, please come every week because I'm loving your comments in the chat.
Yeah.
But yeah, the final countdown. It was. This is a really weird thing to kind of summarize now. For me as a wrestling fan, this was a proper full circle moment because I was at the Ring of Honor shows that they had done in 2005, like at Liverpool Olympia, when it was Danielson and Nigel, when they unified the ROH title and the Pure title. And sort of having that era of Danielson when he was just coming out to the final countdown and the stuff after. Then he went to WWE and you just kind of thought, right, we're never going to get that again. Mm-hmm. And then when obviously he was being teased, when it was being rumored heavily that he may be at the All Out show when he debuted or might be coming in at some point around that time, people were thinking, oh, is he going to, can they get the final countdown? And then words started going around of, nah, Europe want too much money, as in the band, not the continent.
Oh, yeah.
Want too much money for it. And then it's like, okay, well, you know what? We'll make do with the one he's got. It works. It's fine. We'll deal with it. So no one expected the final countdown would happen. But the fact Tony Khan managed to do it for one night only, he is confirmed because, again, way too much money.
Mm-hmm.
But he also apparently got the license for it on the Forbidden Door show in perpetuity. So for any archived replays, it's on there.
So this will make you laugh. Tony Khan has gone on record to state he won't give a figure for how much he paid for the rights to the final countdown, but it is a multi-year mega superstar contract money. So put that into, let that go around your brain machine. That will give you some ideas how much it was. Yeah.
I love the throwbacks that they do on these big shows when it comes to entrances. Like, for example, when we had Punk come out to AFI from his Ring of Honor days, things like that. I absolutely I love those little throwbacks. So why not, even if they are just scarcely done, just keep it coming. It's so good.
What makes me laugh is people will criticize WWE for having the money. They also used to criticize Eric Bischoff for flaunting the cash in WCW. But this is when wrestling is done well. Tony Khan is a wrestling fan, and he's done what every wrestling fan wants. He got the final countdown back for quite possibly the biggest match of Danielson's AEW career, if not career. And let's face it, Danielson is on the way out. This is his. Oh, yeah. This is his swan. Right? How much has he got left? Don't know. There's rumours he may not make it to All In. He's got a damaged shoulder. That was on the press conference. If he's at Dynamite,
I think that will be interesting. I think they said, what was it? It was suspected he fractured his forearm. I think.
Yes.
Yeah. And rumored 6 to 8 weeks, which just about ties into All In. Sorry, so
he should be fine, but it's if there's any issues with the rehab.
Plus, you got to do the build up to his opponent at All In anyway, as well. So it'd be interesting to see how they could, fit that in and still let him be available for build up. I mean, we could actually have a very similar thing similar to him and Okada, where it's just. Via done by the video screen, a recorded video where, I don't know, we'll have whoever is going to go up against doing whatever, and then all of a sudden Bryan Danielson pops up on the screen and turns around and says, oh, just to let you know, I'm going to be medically cleared and I will be at Wembley Stadium and All In, and I'm going to be the one that faces you, blah, 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 and then everyone will go mad, and then we'll know what we have. I could see that happening, and that might work, depending on who the opponent could be.
Well, there we go. That is Forbidden Door. Danielson versus Sanada, one of the best matches of the decade. Kenny Omega, Will Ospreay, one of the best matches of the decade. In terms of card, I mean, forget AEW, WWE. Where does it stack up so far this year? It's got to be in the top 5.
Well, to double back for a second, sort of talk about the match specifically for a moment, because I appreciate we've sort of accidentally glossed over that, as it were.
Yeah. I don't know how.
This was very weird in the building, because as you sort of alluded to earlier after the Omega Ospreay match, we were freaking tired. Yeah. And the final countdown brought us all back up, and Okada's entrance brought us all back up. But the weird thing about this match is, as much as I enjoyed it, the ending felt like it came out of nowhere. And in hindsight, you can kind of understand, because Danielson's arm is seemingly broken. So he even had to modify his submission hold, which looked brutal from what we could see both on the big screen above the ring and just looking down at the ring itself.
Yeah.
And from a significance point of view, this was the first time Okada has submitted in a match since I think it was Shinsuke Nakamura in 2015.
Crikey. Okay.
Wow.
So that does mean a lot.
Yeah, so it's actually a very significant result. And the match itself, it was a great match, but in terms of reaction, I was very much at that point of, I'm really enjoying this. But some people have sort of described the Japanese crowd stereotypically as being a quiet crowd that just pays attention a lot and is focusing. In a way, that's kind of where I was at, in that I was just focusing on what was going on. I wanted to just take it, take it all in, take in what was in front of me, anything going on around me and such. Yeah. And I think a lot of people had that same mindset, because at this point we were like 4.5 hours into the show when you include the pre-show.
Yeah.
So when the match ended, there was just genuine shock. And you're looking at the submission and you're thinking, he can't get out of that. His legs, Danielson's legs have literally wrapped Okada's arms like a pretzel. And then the camera angle, I mentioned this on a podcast I recorded the other day, but it's like, chef's kiss of a camera angle. Just like Okada's hand, you just see his hand just tap like that. It's just a wonderful camera angle. And that's the moment when everyone kind of just had that collective pause and then just went, oh my God. Like,
it's done, yeah.
Yeah.
So do you get a rematch? Do they do a rematch at Wrestle Kingdom? Or is this it? Is this a one and done?
Oh, 100% we're getting another one. 100%, I think. I think it'll probably happen in Japan, though.
Well, I think, just going back to what you were saying about Omega Ospreay, this is a New Japan, I think, storyline. Okada's going to want retribution for the loss on American soil and his loss. So I think this one will go to a rubber. And that will be Danielson's farewell. That will be his last match. I think will be against
Whether
Carter.
It's at Wrestle Kingdom, though, it wouldn't surprise me if it wasn't at Wrestle Kingdom, only because there are perhaps some other events in the calendar of the year where it could fit in quite well, maybe as like a special attraction.
I was about to say, I suppose the problem with Wrestle Kingdom is you don't want to heavy card it too much, do you? I mean, it's like
it's always usually 6 hours long. So
Oh yeah. I know, I watched it. Okay, so let's give you some scores, shall we? So, coming up in third position was Sam, who scored 5 points. Steph and I both scored 9. That means in the overall prediction league, Stefan is now on 55, and I'm back in the lead with 56. Winner. That means Money in the Bank. We're going to be previewing Money in the Bank later. That will change. Oh, Claire, that's brilliant. The scores on the scores.
Oh, that's brilliant. She has to tune in every single show we do live. Like,
Claire,
she's killing the chat room.
Yeah, absolutely. Claire, you are our cheerleader now. Love it. All right, let's go to a bit of fun because we're going to play a game now. And Jeremy.
I've been called that before by someone. I don't know who, but that does sound familiar.
So we're going to play a game called When Am I? Okay. Now, when am I? I'm going to give you 5 questions, starting from hard. They're going to get progressively easy. I need you, any of you, to tell me which event I am talking about.
Okay.
Okay. Now, it could be any company, it could be any event, it could be any year, going back to when days were done. Are you ready?
Sure.
Question number 5, the toughest question. I am the third event of my name. Okay. Number 4, I took place in Philadelphia.
Jeremy? How do I buzz in? Sorry, do I say
my
name? You
can just go, I think, or just jump in.
WrestleMania 3?
No. Didn't take place in Philadelphia.
Oh,
it did. No, it did. It took place in Detroit.
Yeah, I've just realised that.
WrestleMania 15 took place in Philadelphia. Apparently that was also the last time it took place in Philly.
Yep, it's not Philadelphia. It's not WrestleMania. Number 3, 19,304 fans saw the action live in the arena.
It's not as much as All In, I know that much.
It's not as much. Number 2, because no one's getting it, I took place in 1990.
Oh, 1990. Third of its name. Oh, I'm trying to think. Oh, 1990.
Jeremy? Was it Starrcade?
No.
It's a WCW one, isn't it?
Oh,
it's not WCW.
Oh, okay. In that case, I'll take off my WCW hat then. Hang on.
Yeah,
I was thinking it was going to be it was going to be a WCW. Is it a WWE pay-per-view?
it's a WWF pay-per-view. I should have done a WCW one, but I didn't know you were coming on the show at that point.
I think.
So just to recap, so it was in Philadelphia. It's the third event of its name.
Yeah. 19,304 people saw it live in the arena. Okay. And it took place in 1990. Now, it's last question, the easiest one.
I was just thinking. Third of its name. 88.
So,
SummerSlam.
SummerSlam 1990.
88, 89.
Which was definitely, because the main match was the tag match, right?
No, the main event was the Ultimate Warrior defending the championship in a steel cage against ravishing Rick Rude.
Yeah, sorry, I've got my years mixed up.
It was the first title match following the Warriors' win at WrestleMania 6 and title versus title against Hulk Hogan.
Go.
Yeah. There was my Canada link.
Toronto, which is where I am.
Which was my link to Canada. See?
Yeah.
You see?
I honestly can't tell you the last time I thought about SummerSlam 90. I'm going to be
because when you said when I said WWE, you said I was like third of its own, and then I was like SummerSlam did 88, 89, and 90. Well, that's the third of its kind. So yeah.
Some of the matches on that card was the Intercontinental Championship. The Texas Tornado defeated Mr. Perfect to win the strap. Power and Glory, Hercules and Paul Roma defeated the Rockers. You had the Hart Foundation defeat Demolition in a 2 out of 3 falls match for the world titles. And of course, you had Hulk Hogan defeating Earthquake via countout. The Macho King, Randy Savage, defeated the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. And Jim Duggan and Nikolai Volkov defeated the Orient Express. So there we go. All right, that's it for Forbidden Door. That is it for When Am I? Coming up next, we are right on time. Brilliant. Coming up next is When Am I? It's not When Am I? I've just done that. Coming up next is I don't know what's going on anymore.
I can delay you further if you want, because you did technically brush over a question you asked us earlier.
Did I? Oh, go on then.
I think you were asking us, where does Forbidden Door rank?
Oh, yeah.
Somewhere. And then I thought of the story, but then I don't remember what the rest of your question was, so I cut you off.
I'll think about it and I'll let you know in a minute. We're going to go to top picks back after this. All right, so TSC top picks, where we look back at the best of the week. Best wrestler, best show, best match, best segment, anything and everything. Now, poor Jeremy didn't know anything about this, so he's going to be completely on the fly. Let's kick it off, though.
Story of my life, quite frankly, so let's do it.
Welcome to the podcast that I host, mate. You never know what's going on. Let's kick it off with best match. I'm actually going to go with one we've just talked about. Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay.
Yeah, I can predict Jeremy's going to be all elite on all of his answers, considering that's pretty much nearly everything he's done this week. So I'm also going to go with the Omega Ospreay match of the week, definitely 100%.
Yeah, Omega Ospreay.
Okay. I didn't expect it to be a clean sweep. I thought someone was going to go with Danielson Okada, but there we go. All right. Best wrestler for any company.
Okay. Jeremy, you take this one first, because I've got to really...
I was going to say, so to allow secret thinking time while I'm also asking a question here, are we talking specifically in ring or overall, say in terms of like character promo? What's your criteria for this question?
So best wrestler is anything, right? It could be best in ring performer. We do have a best promo or a best segment, but that's down to the actual segment type. So you can link it into anything you want. The floor is open. The forbidden door, if you will, is open.
Based on what I have seen of Monday Night Raw last night, which admittedly isn't a lot, I'm going to go with Kevin Owens, purely because I saw the backstage promo with him and Imperium, and it cracked me up to no end while I was sitting on a tram going through Toronto earlier, and a lot of people were looking at me while I was watching on my phone.
That's the most random thing I think I've ever heard. I was just
tell him when he's lying. Tell him when he's lying, though. I've been saying the last couple of weeks, Kevin Owens I think, has been my best wrestler. I think 2 in a row because of the backstage stuff he's been doing. Jeremy's spot on. It's the greatest thing going.
Okay, so Jeremy has gone with Kevin Owens. Stefan's going to go, from what I can make out of it, of Kevin Owens.
No, I'm not going with Kevin Owens, but he's not wrong.
Okay.
I'm going with Bryan Danielson because that match with Okada, I just thought, considering where Bryan's at the moment, I thought, and obviously the injury he suffered, I just think it was a great performance. It really was, and I'm going Daniel Bryan.
Well, Sam's gone with mine. He's gone with LA Knight. Yeah.
That's who I've
gone with. I will add to the Danielson conversation because admittedly, I did just try to pick not something AEW just to kind of, shake it up a tad for the sake of discussion.
No, I want you to go someone WCW, mate. Just to throw it back to old school.
Well, in that case, then it's Jericho or Sting, isn't it? Because they're the only WCW people who are wrestling. But with Danielson, though, I think to add to what you were saying a second ago, the fact that he managed to continue the match with his arm being broken and managed to apply the submission in the way he did using his legs, in terms of big brain thinking wrestling, he's on another level.
That's Triple H power trip, isn't it? When he tore the quad and carried on the match. That wrestling mentality, that performer's mentality of finish the match at all costs kind of kicks in. All right.
Can I just interject on that? Because I'm going through the categories. This Kevin Owens thing was going to be one of my other picks, but there's just something that tops it for me. For those who didn't see Raw, that segment that Jeremy just alluded to, watch it. To have Sami Zayn turn around and say, Kevin Owens asked Sami Zayn, why are we angry? He said, because of what they done to Matt Riddle. It's like, Matt Riddle, I don't care about Matt Riddle. And he's like, yes, we do. We care about Matt Riddle? Yeah, we don't like what you did to Matt Riddle. And he just went off, just completely changed his stance and then went on a rant about how they hurt Matt Riddle, even though seconds before he said he didn't care about Matt Riddle. And then Sami Zayn was like, yes, we do. And then that was it, that turn. What Owens is doing at the moment is just gold. It is, and it's a worthy mention, but it's not going to be my pick for moment or because something tops it for me. But go watch it if you haven't, those who are listening and watching.
Okie dokie, there we go. Right, best segment, promo or angle from this past week. So I'm going to go the Usos on SmackDown. I'm following up.
Yeah, I'm going to go promo. I'm going to go Finn Balor's last night on Raw. It was brilliant. It was like a video package, but promo. It was all about, him losing the Universal Championship, relinquishing that. It was the way he delivered on why he's got such issue with stuff. But it was the delivery, the storytelling that Balor did. It was so brilliantly done. And seeing all the footage from him getting injured and relinquishing the Universal title all the way through to where he is now, it was perfection. I've been wanting to see Balor for a very long time on last night on Raw. Hands down.
So for me, I'm going to take it from AEW Rampage last week. It was the segment involving Adam Cole, MJF, and at the time, obviously, going to involve Tom Lawler as well, and such, setting up the match, where Adam Cole was being attacked by Tom Lawler, and MJF is on the ramp cutting a promo, and he's basically saying, hey, tag partner, I'll come and help you. Oh, hang on, let me just take my jacket off. Hold on right there. Hang on. Trying to take his jacket off in a really, obviously, he's doing it in a bit of a klutz way. He's like, right, I'm on my way. Oh, hang on, I've got this diamond ring on my finger. I can't get it off my finger. Hang on, I can't get it off. Oh, I've got to try and get this belt off now. Oh, you've been beaten down anyway, it's fine.
This is why we love MJF. It's stuff like this is just brilliant.
This is why we love AEW. That was my best storyline, MJF, Adam Cole. The addition of the whole blind tag team eliminator tournament and putting them into that. I was expecting MJF to get involved in the match at Forbidden Door, if I'm being quite frank, if it had actually gone ahead, but ultimately we didn't see that.
My best storyline is the Usos and Roman Reigns, the implosion of Jay turning on Roman.
Just going back to the MJF angle, I can actually see him costing Adam Cole the tournament, and they will win the damn thing, and become World Tag Team Champions, beating FTR. But we'll see. We will see which way.
Would be the first time we've seen a storyline like that?
No, exactly.
Nope. It's yep. There we go. Best moment for this week. I'm actually going to kick it off and go Chris Jericho challenging Sting at the press conference at Forbidden Door.
Mine is going to be the final countdown that the entrance, Bryan Daniels' entrance at Forbidden Door, for me, it's been years in the making. We got it. It delivered. It's a crowd pleasing song as well. It's a song you listen to anyway, and it just gives you an uplift, and that's what it did. As Jeremy said earlier, everyone's tired. They hear that song, boom, there's another ounce of energy for you to get you into it. It was brilliant, and that's my favourite. That's my top moment.
Yeah, for me, it was when Omega just got up after the one count from the One-Winged Angel during the match, like I mentioned. Just that feeling of emotion, you can't replicate that. It is probably one of the best moments in wrestling, just full stop.
And Sam has gone for the Jack Perry heel turn from,
that's my close second.
From Forbidden Door.
Definitely.
All right.
Out of interest, if you don't mind me asking, what was Taz like on commentary at that point? Because I've not actually seen what he was saying.
Taz was hilarious. So Taz sold it. I'm loving Taz because he's really moved away from the heel Taz persona from a couple of years ago when he was running the Team Taz. They make perfect reference to the fact that Hook is his son, and he basically said, "You're dead, mate." Basically, basically he went to Jack Perry, "You're dead. You're done. You stupid. You're done." I hope they play on this. As much as I like Hook being separate to Taz, I hope they bring the Taz as the mentor into Hook going after Jack Perry, especially if he's aligned with Don Callis.
Yeah,
I think that would just be perfect.
Absolutely.
All right, let's go to the best show of any brand. And Jeremy, I am guessing you're going to go something All Elite. I'm pretty much guessing we're all going to go Forbidden Door. But
yeah.
I think we can't not, can we?
No, I don't think so.
Everybody Forbidden Door, yeah?
I was going to try and think of a way of saying not saying Forbidden Door, but it's actually impossible, quite frankly, from my point of view.
You've got a choice of Dynamite, Collision, or Rampage, really. So it's whichever one you want to go.
But that's the thing as well. From my point of view, I've also got the experience of actually being there for the entirety of what the event was in person. Yeah. Because for Dynamite, it was... What was it? There was like a bonus match, then Dynamite, then Rampage, then an ROH match. Collision, there were like 6 ROH matches, all of Collision live, then another 5 ROH matches. And then the next night, it was Forbidden Door, including the pre-show and the other bonus match.
So we've heard a lot over the recent weeks about AEW fans being burnt out by the end of Dynamite. When you do Dynamite, and then you do the Rampage taping. And now, obviously, you've got the Collision taping in Ring of Honor. How burnt out were you by the end of the weekend, not getting into Forbidden Door?
I mean, come Saturday night, we didn't get out of the building till gone 11 o'clock.
Wow.
And yeah, it's the thing that... So, it's an interesting conversation, this, because from the perspective of Collision specifically, because I think this kind of adds a bit more intrigue as to ways they could actually run the live event better.
Yeah.
The way they did it was they kind of said, we're going to kick things off with with some Ring of Honor matches, and then we'll do Collision live, and then we've got more Ring of Honor. But they don't actually tell you what you're going to see. The matches just happen one after another with no context. And even after Collision was over, and there was like a little post-show thing with Punk and whatnot, and FTR and Starks, they just say, stick around for more Ring of Honor. But they don't tell you anyone you're going to see. So the final match that took place was Chuck Taylor against Claudio Castagnoli. We had no idea Claudio was even there until he came out. And part of me thinks, would you not say, still to come, you're going to see matches with the likes of Athena, Claudio, some of these guys and whatnot? And
you'd have thought so. You would have thought so.
Yeah, you would have thought so. But
in the context of Collision as well, the final 2 ROH matches involved New Japan talent as well, which we didn't know were going to come out. So they kind of got the crowd amped up a little bit more. So they just don't tell you what you're going to see on Ring of Honor.
It's bizarre.
What has the reaction been of Toronto to All Elite? Because WWE go all out when they... How many times am I going to get that into the show tonight? WWE just go completely for it when they go to a venue, especially if they're doing a marquee event like WrestleMania. What sort of hype and promotion have AEW done in Canada that you've seen so far?
I mean, I personally haven't seen any, but that may also be because I've not looked in the places to look at where you would normally find that kind of promotion. Because all my stuff, I bought the stuff online. It's like, okay, well, that's what I'm doing. I will now look up how do I get to the arena, sort of thing. That's kind of been my promotion of looking up things and whatnot. But in terms of actual like street advertising or anything else, I've not seen anything. But again, it may just be I've not been to the right places.
Were there any meet and greets or anything, like you could game out and test out the Fight Forever game or something?
So apparently, on the day of Collision, a few days before, AEW put out a tweet or something saying there will be a meet and greet with some New Japan wrestlers the day of Collision. You must have a ticket to the show to be able to get to it. Then they posted nothing else about it. And then on the day of, words started going around that there was like another sub website, kind of like an AEW liveevents.com or something website. I don't know if that's the URL, where you could then buy a meet and greet pass for certain New Japan wrestlers to meet them. But they didn't publicize this as far as I saw. And by the time it was all happening, I was like, oh, I'm in the queue now. I'm not going to worry. And I probably would have met one or two of them. And also, they kind of spoiled the fact that Naito was there because they did replace Tanahashi with a Naito thing for a little while.
Yes, saw that. That was all over the news boards, wasn't it? And then all of a sudden, quickly gone. But it was out. Once you put something out on the internet, you're screwed.
Yeah. So in terms of other events that were going on, apparently there was some stuff going on sort of locally at some toy shops. I think because Toys R Us is still a thing in Canada, people. There was like a big like meet and greet with a few wrestlers at a Toys R Us. Apparently, there's a big thing going on in Hamilton tonight involving Ethan Page and a big toy drive along with a bunch of other wrestlers and such. So there is definitely other things going on. But in terms of finding out about them, I found out about them purely through accident of it happening to appear on my Twitter feed.
Well, just changing subjects very quickly. Toys R Us, Jeremy, do you know, is back in the UK.
It's coming back, making a comeback.
What?
Yes.
It's don't get too excited. It's not going to be like it used to be.
Who opened the Forbidden Door?
Well, Jeffrey the Giraffe, I think. They are going back into WH Smith's.
Wait, what?
Toys R Us are going to be...
I've watched so much wrestling, you can't do this to me.
Toys R Us have signed a UK distribution deal with WH Smith. So they will be taking a corner of WH Smith stores throughout the country, which will be dedicated to Toys R Us. Not Babies R Us, Toys R Us. With Jeffrey the Giraffe. He's back. It's the 80s all over again.
Yep.
So what about if you've got like a tiny newsagent style WH Smith?
We're going to now complicate this now, aren't we?
And on that note, thanks for joining us this week for the Squared Circle. We'll be back next week with Toys R Us Watch.
Yeah, tell us, Germany, what's your favourite moment this week? Oh, well, it's nothing to do with wrestling now. It's the Toys R Us are coming back.
No, in fairness, Jeremy, I was exactly the same when I found out. I was like jumping up and down for joy because there's 45 minutes up the road. There's one. It's like, I'm going back. Who wants to go to Smith's? Why? You don't want to go to Smith's? You want to go to Toys R Us?
I mean, let's expand the question. When's the last time you needed to go to a Smith's?
I can't remember.
That's a very good question. I will just point out, just because we are online and we are on the internet, other toy stores are available. Not as good as Toys R Us, but they are available.
I mean, what is it? There's Hamleys, Smith's Toys, ironically. There you go.
The Entertainer.
That's why they've done it. That's why they've done it. Because you find Toys R Us in Smith's, but if you Google the wrong Smith's toy store, from an SEO point of view, search engine optimization.
Oh, he's on it. Jeremy's on it. He's busted them. The conspiracy's opened.
Very clever, sir. Very clever.
You open the Forbidden Door, I close it back up and kick it open harder.
I'm going to wrap this show up in a minute. Forget Money in the Bank. That's it. I'm done. 20 years of podcasting. I'm done. I've just been tapped out by a giraffe.
Guilty pleasure.
Lightning. What just flashed outside on your screen? Have you got lightning outside now?
No, it's just that I don't know quite what it was.
It genuinely looked like you had lightning for a second there.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm getting a bit nervous though because it looks like it is going to rain, and if it rains with electric sat outside, I'm going to either die or be electrocuted.
Yeah, we'll have Kentucky Fried Andy.
You've got some tart behind you. You're fine.
You should see the tart. You should see what I've got in front of me. I've got plasterboard sat in front of me and a big 6-foot glass pane. I've got glass to the right of me. I've got plasterboard behind me that's in here. 2 doors. I'm on a carpet piece of concrete, and I'm overlooking the garden. All I need now is to bring the barbecue up, and I could have been cooking and doing the show at the same time.
Guilty pleasure.
Al fresco cooking, you've got al fresco podcasting. Guilty pleasure for me.
I was going to say, if you do have any other questions, by the way, about like the live events I've been to this week, about how they've been run or anything inside, like, feel free, because I've scoped out a lot of things. So if you have got any general questions, like, feel free to ask. Like, just in general, I'm an open book as much as I can be.
I think for us, I mean, Collision's only 2 weeks old, so you've literally gone to the second week.
I've gone to episode 2, which was the night before a pay-per-view.
Yes. Did you see the pilot? Did you see the debut?
I did, yes.
Did it live up to the hype? Because my concern about Collision, I said this last week on the show, 3 weeks in, the litmus test is going to be whether or not the quality is still there. They did a cracking debut, and on TV it looked like they did a cracking second. Was it a good show?
It's very interesting comparing Dynamite Live to Collision Live, especially, because the way I described it to a mate of mine was that Collision felt, in some ways, a show far more designed for television than Dynamite is, because it was just a lot, it wasn't as breakneck speed, because a lot of stuff on Dynamite is sort of a bit boom, 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 you've got to move on to the next thing. But Collision, it did feel very intentional sometimes with the timing of it, in a good way, and perhaps in some ways a bad way, but like the main event being half an hour long or so, it's just great fun. You really get to just take in everything you've got, and arguably, because you've got less matches on Collision, you just get to take it in a bit more, if that makes sense. Also, just from a production point of view, Collision wipes the floor with Dynamite. Like, that set is fantastic.
It's beautiful, isn't it? It looks on
so
TV.
Good.
It looks modern, whereas Dynamite looks relatively old now compared to the Collision one.
Yeah. The Dynamite set is really nice, and I'll be interested to see how it looks in Hamilton. And also, I don't know how big of a building the Hamilton building is, but is there like a condensed version of the Collision entrance? Because that set was massive in that arena. It's so big.
You got to think. I mean, we criticised WWE for having the same set design. They really have gone to town on Collision to make it look different.
Yeah.
And full credit to them. You know, because it can get same repetitive when you're watching a Raw or SmackDown. It's the same set or whatever. We're going to touch more on that in just a second if we can. Let's just do guilty pleasures at the moment. Stefan, your guilty pleasure was?
I'm going to go with Carmelo Hayes wrestling on Raw last night.
Okay.
No. That was a reaction.
No. Carmelo Hayes is just no.
Well, I think he's a good athlete. I enjoy his matches.
I'm not enjoying NXT, period, at the moment.
No, I'm not enjoying NXT at all lately, but it was on Raw, so...
I'm going to go with the most underrated female performer in WWE is my guilty pleasure.
Return of...
Liv Morgan. I mean, this girl last year was pulling out the stops doing the Women's Championship, and I think she's going to be great. To a prediction that we're going to get to next, which is going to be the Unified Tag Team titles at Money in the Bank, I'm predicting it, and we'll touch on it in a minute, they will win the straps back at Money in the Bank. You can see it happening, which is interesting. Jeremy, your guilty pleasure, sir?
I'm trying to think in the context of everything I've seen, what would be a guilty pleasure at this point?
It doesn't have to be everything that you've seen this week. It could be anything to do with professional wrestling that you've got a guilty pleasure in.
That's the thing. I don't know if there isn't even really just a guilty pleasure.
That song that was stuck in your head. Whose entrance theme was it?
Will Ospreay or Willow's theme song.
Yes. Yeah.
Willow, she's not a dwarf on Disney Plus.
Willow.
I honestly, I can't put out a guilty pleasures because everything I've seen has just been an absolute pleasure. But what I will do in a bit to try and say something for this segment, I'll tell you a nice sort of feel-good story that I've seen.
Go on then.
Because at the AEW event, they really try and make it feel like a bit of a everyone's in this together family style atmosphere. So before Dynamite, as an example, Justin Roberts is talking to the crowd and whatnot. And before that even begins, the AEW security team, they're like all introduced by Justin. So you sort of get an idea for who's all like around ringside, the team members and such. And it just adds a bit more of a human touch to it. But then what they also do is, if there's clearly, families with young kids there and they're up at the barricade, as long as the show's not started or like nothing's going on, security will just like literally pick up the kids, put them on the ring apron, let the parents just snap a quick photo or so.
That's a really nice touch. It sounds a bit like Butlins, isn't it, where they introduce in the redcoats to everybody. All right, if anyone's got any issues, if anyone's getting a bit rowdy, you want to talk to Bert. Bert's the skinny one over there, down in section 102. Go and talk to Dave. He'll look at Bert, and if not, Dave's just down there. That's it does, doesn't it? But that's a really nice touch for them to be able to do that. Because, I mean, going to WWE live events, before the show starts and everyone pours in, you can sort of go down near the front, but you can sort of lean on the barrier and have your photo snapped by the ring. But to have people have their kids sitting on the ring apron, that's a lovely touch.
Yeah. And obviously, it's not every single kid in the world. It's kind of like, if there's like a quiet moment, there's not much going on and security can make it happen. But it was just a really kind of nice, personal human touch. Just watching it from where I was in the Wintrust Arena, it was like, that's just really cool. That's really heartwarming.
I can just imagine Justin Roberts saying, your security team sat on this barricade is Dave, and halfway through someone tapping him on the shoulder, oi, Dave, mate, Dave, Dave, mate, Dave.
Andy, don't get any ideas at All In and everything. I'm not going to get the security guard to lift you over the barrier and sit you on the ring apron, okay, for a snap. Just letting you know, everyone.
I mean, I imagine they're going to need a bit more than just the AEW security team at All In.
Hang on, I thought. Thank God you changed it. Though. I thought you were going to need a bloody forklift to pick me up and put me onto the ring apron. Oh, that's where you were going. About? That was very quick timing. Very quick. Timing.
Never even crossed my mind, mate. Genuinely, like I was just thinking the amount of security for All In. There's 65,000 people. That's another thing that was interesting. You'll find this interesting, genuinely. Before Dynamite and also on Collision, they have made a bespoke video package they play on the big screen, hyping All In London. And it's it's hosted by Renee Paquette, talking about the passion of the UK fans, why Wembley is such a big deal. And then it cuts to Saraya talking, out of character, if you will, from her perspective, what it means to be at that show and why people should try and travel over to be part of it. So they're actually trying to push now to their domestic American fans, if you will, in North America, to fly over to All In. Not to say they've exhausted the UK fans in terms of buying tickets, but I think they're at that point where it's like, okay, everyone who really wants to be there has got a ticket. So now let's see how else we can push this.
And in fairness, why wouldn't you? Because if you can go on history as being the biggest attended gate in UK history, why would you not?
Absolutely.
The only thing that really annoys me about All Elite, and this... And I don't know if I should have been prepared for this, is the fact that they do All In, like a big pay-per-view over here in the UK, and then the following week they do All Out. Well, I just think that's a bit... Are we going to get... Whereas we're all sat there going, Adam Cole's going to walk out the AEW World Champion, there's going to be some big thing, crowd's going to go nuts, blah, 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 blah. My concern with All In, now it's going to be a glorified house show. That's what my concern is, because of All Out being the following week in the States.
Go on, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, and you would want something big to happen on your US show, because otherwise...
I would say to that, I now regard, based on Forbidden Door especially as well, I would regard All In being something akin to a Forbidden Door show. And it's going to be a very much a special attraction event. Probably the odd dream match or match you just don't expect to see anywhere else, quite kind of thing. Arguably, there may be some New Japan talent involved because Rev Pro are running the Copper Box the night before, and they've already announced Shingo the Ospreay. So we know for a fact that at least 2 New Japan wrestlers are going to be involved in that show at Rev Pro. And Little Birdie on the side has told me, not anything specific, but expect some other big things to be announced for that show. I genuinely don't know anything more.
I'd expect them to literally go it's me turning the puns here, going all out at All In because of how significant this show is to AEW and that. I really wouldn't expect it to be a glorified house show. I think they would literally throw everything possible at that to make it as iconic and as historic as possible.
Well, there is rumours in the States they're going to be airing it for free. And even over here in the UK, potentially, it's going to be airing on ITV4 live.
Why wouldn't you, quite frankly?
No. Exactly. I mean, that's something the WWE would never do. So, why wouldn't you do it? Speaking of which, we need to move to Money in the Bank because that is coming up this Saturday. Let's do it.
In London.
In London, at the O2. Let's get to it. This is Money in the Bank, the event centre. Yep, they are stupidly loud. Right, okay. Money in the Bank takes place this Saturday live from London's O2 Arena. It's a big one, I think. I think they've actually pulled the stops out for this in terms of the men's Money in the Bank, the World Heavyweight Championship, and the main event, the Bloodline Civil War. So let's get to it. Let's give you the predictions. I have got Sam's. I'm going to try and find them while we kick off. So let's start with the men's Money in the Bank ladder match, which consists of LA Knight, Damian Priest, Butch, Santos Escobar, Shinsuke Nakamura, Ricochet, and the man who just went to management and said, put me in the match, Logan Paul. Seriously, yeah. That's what he did.
That's what he did, yeah.
Look, he's got 1 million plus followers. He can do that.
And pretty much, Jeremy, that's his promo spot on.
Pretty much. My prediction, it's got to be, and I'll be really pissed if it doesn't happen, it's got to be, L.A. Knight. It's got to be.
Well, funnily enough, you've gone LA Knight, I've gone LA Knight, and Sam has gone LA Knight. Although I'm expecting a swerve, I think there's going to be something different happening here. I do wonder if Logan Paul will walk out of London with the Money in the Bank.
With that in mind, obviously this is just me spitballing some thoughts here to perhaps kind of cloud the waters. But my immediate reaction is also LA Knight, but part of me also thinks probably going to be Logan Paul, because one, how many people would it annoy? And the idea that at any point over the next year or so, Logan Paul could just surprise walk out and cash it in on whoever he wants. One assumes it'll probably end up being Seth from the storyline perspective. Why not do that? And then, of course, it will get them all the headlines they like. Part of me, the cynical side, thinks that.
Okay, so what if, and I agree with you, Logan Paul wins Money in the Bank, Seth retains over Finn Balor, and he cashes in after the Judgment Day of attack, which you know they're going to, and he cashes in on Seth Rollins in London, walks out the World Heavyweight Champion.
Possible. I mean, it'll make the headlines for certain. I just hope to God that he never gets anywhere near it. I really.
If he does, expect him to be holding a big bottle of Prime Energy drink or something like that.
Oh my God, if that stuff is disgusting.
It is.
Right, the women's Money in the Bank. Oh, by the way, Jeremy, your prediction of LA Knight doesn't stand unless you go, at the end of it.
I mean, technically, I said Logan Paul, but you know.
All right then.
I think I said my gut says LA Knight.
Jeremy,
Jeremy, you are a guest on this show. Please try not to bury my co-host too hard with that.
I'll make you up for lost time. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, thanks, guys. All I'm going to say is that my legs are absolutely freezing because I'm stupidly wearing shorts and it's really cold. And I've looked after my top half, but not my bottom half, and I'm very bloody cold right now.
Arguably TMI, but let's move on.
Okay, fair enough. Women's Money in the Bank ladder match: Io Sky, Bayley, the legend WWE Hall of Famer Trish Stratus, the future released Zoe Stark, the man Becky Lynch, and the Queen Zelina Vega. Sam has gone Io Sky. I went stupidly for Zoe Stark. I'm changing that. I'm actually going to go with Zelina Vega because I just think they are putting a rocket under Zelina Vega right now.
See, mine's I'm torn between Trish and Io Sky. I think Io takes it. That ends up with her and Bayley finally. The end of Damage Control regarding them two. I'm gonna go Trish. I'm gonna go Trish. I think Zoe would help Trish win it.
It'll be like James Ellsworth all over again.
Pretty much, yeah. Except for Zoe Stark has a chin.
Now, if Nikita Lyons was in the match, it would
God. He can't help himself.
All right, next up, World Heavyweight Championship. Seth Rollins defends against Finn Balor. We have got no confirmation yet if it's the Demon. I don't think it is. But as much as it's been a good build-up, and I think it has been a good build in respect of actually making Finn look relevant again, which is what he hasn't been for quite a while, they're not going to take the strap off Rollins this quick, so I'm going Rollins to retain. So is Sam.
Yeah, Phil House. Rollins all the way for that.
Okay. Now, a match that was added last night. Oh, Jeremy, who do you think? Sorry. I'm not used to having another 4 first.
No, that's all good. I mean, for the women's ladder match, I agree with what Stefan was saying. I want EO, but I see it being Trish. For this, just to be a wild card, I'll say Balor, because Rollins has already defended the belt more times than Roman has in years. So, so at this point, he's already had a more successful title reign, arguably. So, why not Balor?
and in fairness, Balor's had a good run the last 18 months. Now, the match that was announced last night on Monday Night Raw, if anybody goes different to what I think, then you need your head looked in. Gunther versus Matt Riddle for the Intercontinental Championship. Now, if they put Matt Riddle over Walter, I am shutting the show down, never producing a wrestling podcast again, never watching professional wrestling again, and will just no.
Oh, in the words of, oh no, you're a Star Trek. I was going to say the words of Palpatine in Star Wars. We're going to go, good, I can feel your anger. Literally the hatred for Riddle. I mean, I don't like Riddle at all, but I love the next level hatred you have. It's brilliant. But I think it's Daring General. Gunther takes it, absolutely.
Should I tell you who's going to win? The fans are going to win with this match, because this is going to be great fun.
Do you know who's going to win this match? The concession stand. Because this is your pee break.
Are you kidding me? People want to hear those chops.
That's a good point.
I would also not want to go to the concession stands and that just to see Riddle get his ass handed to him, like literally decimated by Gunther. I mean, that would be worth the admission alone. Anytime to see Matt Riddle get beaten the crap out of, it's worth the admission alone.
I mean, if I recall correctly, and this is me really trying to clutch at straws in the back of my brain, I want to say they've had at least a singles match or two before. Maybe one in WXW, maybe one also in Progress.
Yeah, Progress. They've advertised the comparison of that. It was at the O2, one of the O2 at Hammersmith or whatever it was for Progress, and now the actual O2. So yeah,
I mean, you've called WXW before, so you've called Gunther in the ring. When he does those chops, I mean, legitimately, how hard are they? Can you?
Oh, they're like gunshots.
Yeah.
It's great fun.
They are.
Okay, we're not going on any further with that because the guy legitimately scares me. Cody Rhodes.
I will leave your thought with this, as it were. I've legitimately just seen a handprint on someone's chest before from a Gunther chop. It may have been from Gunther from when it was like Walter and Ilya Dragunov. Like, I've seen the literal handprints meters away from my face.
So Saraya Knight, Julia Harmer, the eldest Saraya, if she chops and you ever take a Saraya chop, it's exactly the same. And actually, Saraya, if you take her chop, yeah, that hurts. I was suffering for about 3 days after having that in RQW taping. Very painful. Okay, Cody Rhodes, Dominic Mysterio. It's Cody for me. It's Cody for Sam.
And Cody for me as well.
I'm wondering if we're missing something because I've got this feeling they might swerve it.
Dom.
Yeah.
I could see Rhea getting involved and costing Cody, but I just think that this one's going to be a crowd pleaser because Cody is so over at the moment, and I think they'll ride that. They'll keep Cody with the victory. I think he even might win by disqualification.
Once, that's all that matters,
Absolutely, yeah. And I actually could see Cody winning via disqualification as well, potentially.
What a crowd pleaser ending on a DQ.
Yeah, what a way to annoy the UK fans. All right, so Jeremy's going Dom. Everybody else is going Cody. Yes?
Yes.
All right. Intriguing. Women's Tag Team Championship, Raquel Rodriguez, Liv Morgan going up against the brand new unified Women's Tag Team champions, not champions, I don't know where that's come from. Shayna Baszler and Ronda Rousey. They had a very tough, brutal match on SmackDown this past week against Elba Fire and Isla Dawn, who are the NXT Tag Team champions, so unified. it wouldn't surprise me to put this one back on Raquel Rodriguez and Liv Morgan, because technically they never lost the belts. They had to give it up. They've got the redemption story. And surely it's time for Ronda Rousey to take some time off. I mean, she's worked a month. She surely needs to take 6 months off now.
That was me thinking you're being legitimate with that thought then.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I am being legitimate about that thought.
So I really don't know with this one. I don't... My big question is who can take those titles off of Shayna and Ronda. That's not Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. And I don't really see anyone. But I think at the moment they retain. I think they retain at this show. But I do think Liv and Raquel will dethrone them at some point. Potentially SummerSlam.
Champions retain. That's my pick.
Champions are going to retain. All right. So I am actually the only one who's gone with a title switch. Ronda and Shayna. Sam's gone with Ronda and Shayna because I think Sam thinks Shayna's the best thing since sliced bread. All I've got to say about that is 2 words. I can't find my screen. Where's my screen? Where's my screen gone? There it is. All I can say is...
I don't want to alarm you. That was more than 2 words.
All I can say about this is no boy, because I haven't got it in yet.
Thing is, Shayna, I'm gonna speaking as like a sort of a gaming nerd now. Shayna is also a nerd like me. You know, yes. I'm not into Warhammer. She's heavily into Warhammer stuff. Her gear is inspired by different Warhammer classes and whatnot. Like, there's part of me just wants Shayna to continue being awesome and just having her gear inspired by all the various things that she loves outside of wrestling. So, you know.
Okay, I don't know where to go with that. That's just really you've thrown me off.
I think Shayna's a hell of a lot better than what she's booked as. She really is. She really is.
She needs a rub, and she's not really getting it. So hopefully this title match will win. Right, main event time. It's the Bloodline Civil War. It's Roman Reigns, Solo Sikoa with Paul Heyman with the Tribal Chief facing off against the Usos, Jimmy and Jay. I've put the Usos on this one. However, I have a prediction that it's going to be a bit of a swerve, and either Solo is going to turn on Roman because they lose the match and it's Solo who gets pinned and Roman blames him and he joins back with the brothers, or Jay it's going to be a swerve all along and Jay is going to turn on Jimmy, and then we're going to have Jay back on the Usos, back with the Bloodline. I don't know.
See, I'm the same along the same sort of lines of thinking. However, my swerve is a bit different. I think Roman and Solo win because I think that the other members of the Anoa'i family that have been released and are now free are going to come in and cost the Usos the match and basically take their place in the Bloodline. Because, you know, we reference back to where Roman and Paul Heyman and that have said recently, in recent weeks on social media as well, there are more, basically there's more family. And I can't think anyone else that could be brought in apart from those to be a part of it. And, you know, I can see that. I could see that happening.
Thing is, that's a lot of talent to fly into the UK.
I mean, I don't mean it'd be all of them, but I could see a couple of them. Yeah,
they're not hard up.
I could see at least 2 members, two of them. I could see at least 2 of them, but we'll see.
Well, who knows? Because we know that last year at Clash at the Castle, Solo Sikoa debuted and cost Drew McIntyre the WWE Championship match against Roman Reigns. So we'll have to see. Who are we going for? Jeremy, who are you going to pick if you had to for this one? Usos or Sikoa Reigns?
There's a phrase that I've used before called it's a pick'em. You could literally go either way with it. It's that close to the line. Here's my wild card prediction. The Rock randomly shows up and aligns himself with one of the 2 sides. And that leads to a 6-man tag match at SummerSlam because he then decides he can wrestle.
I remember your wild card predictions from back in the day. They were still wild then. They're even worse now. Jeremy.
Look, he's made up with Vin Diesel. They're all pals. You know, it's all good. Life's looking up after the success that was Black Adam, you know.
They don't call him Jeremy Wildcard Grace for nothing, you know.
The thing is, though, if Fast 10 had been released this week, I might have seen it happen.
Oh, God. Yeah, no,
but it hasn't. But it hasn't. I think that's very much a wild card theory.
I think we could actually see the Usos bring The Rock in to counter who Roman and Solo bring in, I could actually see that happening, and we may still get that Rock Roman match at Mania.
I don't think any of you should be putting money down at a bookies for a Rock appearance as part of this story.
I wouldn't either, but
I'm wild. I'm not that wild.
You're wild, you're not stupid.
It's the nicest thing you've said to me all day.
Oh, no. It's only been a few years, mate. I've got to get them in somehow. Right. So we're all going with the Usos. Jeremy's... Who did you go with in the end? I can't remember.
I mean, I didn't, but let's put it this way. Like you said, I'm going to go with the Usos, but it'll probably be because Solo gets pinned. I don't see Roman being pinned, but I say it will be Jay that gets the pinfall because I want main event Jay versus Roman.
Yeah, I went with Reigns and Solo. That's my pick. Reigns and Solo, I think, win.
All right. Sam's put The Rock is coming back anytime soon. I think he means The Rock isn't coming back anytime soon. I would agree. That's it for this week. Money in the Bank goes down live this Saturday, July the 1st, on pay-per-view on the WWE Network. We don't call it a premium live event on this show. It's a pay-per-view. Whoever came up with the term PLE needs to be shot. It's not. Why premium live? I never got it. At least AEW call it pay-per-view.
Because it's a plea from them to try and watch the show.
Oh, very good. Very good, my friend. Very good.
This is what happens when I'm on no sleep and jet lag.
Well, you're doing well. You're doing well. Jeremy, I want to thank you for joining us. It has been an absolute pleasure having you back on the airwaves of TSC. This is your first TSC appearance since 2007.
Yeah, I was gonna say this decade, but it's beyond this decade.
It's beyond. You've done it. I think you did a one shot on TWS once, maybe. But this is your first TSC appearance since 2007. You are more than welcome anytime, sir. Anytime you want to come on the show, you are more than welcome.
Yeah, thank you for sharing everything with us.
Yeah, I mean, it was brilliant.
I'd have had a ball.
Fantastic. And it's great you've stayed for the entire show as well. You weren't sure if you were going to, but that was brilliant. Now, if you want to get in contact, if you want to keep up to date with everything that Jeremy with everything that Jeremy is up to, how can they get in contact with you on socials?
I'm on Twitter. I am Jeremy G __ because someone else took Jeremy G and then the first underscore, so that's how life works. On there, I tend to push a variety of things that I've got. There's a link tree on there, so you can find a variety of podcasts I do, be it about Transformers, wrestling, unboxing videos that I do, and stuff like that. So, as it were, I sort of keep my fingers in many pies, as it were, on doing a variety of things.
Hang on. Transformers?
Oh, yeah.
They're more than meets the eye.
Okay, I need to go into your link tree and find more of this out. That sounds...
I've literally, with a good buddy of mine, we've literally gone through all of US G1, and we're now in the Japanese continuity of G1, which is a trip in itself. Oh,
are you doing the Headmasters?
Yeah.
Oh my. Yeah. Have you got the... Sorry, this is really showing our geek now. Have you got the English dub?
We're watching it subtitled, but we may, at some point, if we ever decide to do a proper, Patreon and try and see if anyone's interested, we might suffer through the English dub, but we do have access to it, yes.
If you think the dub version is a head scrambler, you try doing the dub. Like a Jackie Chan movie where they do the dub and it's 30 seconds out.
Oh, yeah, it's hilariously bad. I've seen some clips.
Yeah, I've got all the episodes of G1 Headmasters, the English dub, and it's taken me about 5 years to get through them because you can only watch so much before you want to just go and jump off a cliff and transform it. But that's brilliant. Have you seen the new film?
No, not yet. At some point I might, but
it's meant to be good. Jeremy, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure having you back on, and honestly, you're more than welcome. Whenever you want to come back on TSC, you are more than welcome. Enjoy the rest of your week in...
Very much.
I was going to say in Chicago, but you're in Canada. Enjoy the rest of your week in Canada. Stefan, what you got coming up?
I may be at the Historic Dockyard in Chatham next week on Saturday and Sunday for UKPW's We're on a Boat and Summer Jam shows as part of the Medway Gaming Festival. Head over to the Historic Dockyard website to get your tickets. The wrestling is free. We've got some great names there like the Wolf of Broad Street, Alexander Roth, Kira Chimera, who's the UKPW Women's Champion, and many, many, many more. And it should be a really, really fun weekend. So jump down and enjoy.
Amazing. There we go. Right, we are going to go out this week with Story Time, which we should have aired last week. We ran out of time on the show, so we're going to go out with it now. Until then, we will see you all next week. Jeremy, stay in touch, my friend. Let's not leave it so long next
100%.
time.
Let's do it again soon. Hopefully we can collab with my other show at some point as well.
Yeah. Transformers.
TSC and Bunkermania. Let's do it. Do it together.
What's it called?
Bunkermania Wrestling is the wrestling one I do.
Okay, yeah. I've heard of that. I've not listened to it, but I've heard of it. I need to check that out. All right. Yes, let's do a TSC Bunkermania.
It'll be our own Forbidden Door.
The allied powers.
There you go.
We've already opened the Forbidden Door with Maguire on Wrestling in Canada. If you haven't checked that out, Jeremy, check it out because Mike Maguire does an amazing podcast called Maguire on Wrestling. I want to give, before we wrap up the show, we are over time. My wife's going to kill me. I want to wrap up and just send a massive shout out and a big congratulations to Mike. Mike has announced that he is going back onto national radio in Canada, and he's going back where it all began, straight back to his home station, the station that he first started out in all those years ago. So on behalf of all of us, Mike, congratulations, well done. No one deserves it more than you, and I can't wait to hear your show somehow. You will have to send us a link with a VPN or just a podcast, but let us know. Sam is also back next week. We're going to be recapping all of Money in the Bank. We're going to have a talking point. Sam's got an announcement about Pro Wrestle Dorset, and I can announce, drum roll please, that the following week, making his debut on TSC and his return, he is the founder, he is the podfather, he is my best friend. Lee Tyers will be coming back. Will be coming to TSC, and I can't wait to have him back on the show. It's going to be great to have Lee back on the show that he started back in 2005. That's it for us. We'll be back next week. Jeremy, thanks again. Stefan, thanks again. We will see you very soon. Until that bugging up my exit. Until that time.
He's just thinking, why can nothing ever go the way I want it to?
Take two, go.
For Jeremy, for Stefan, and for me, that is TSC. We're wrapping it up. We will see you at the matches. This is Story Time. So long. Good night.
At my leisure, I'm going to call Vince McMahon out to his ring in front of his public on a television show that's owned by his grand company. At least that is until this Sunday at Survivor Series. I know how much you people appreciate what Shane and Stephanie and I have done, how Shane and Stephanie and I have stood up to the tyranny of Vince McMahon. And the way it is, ladies and gentlemen, is quite simple. The World Wrestling Federation will die this Sunday. But don't blame me for that. It's not my fault. I'm not the one who ruined everything that was accomplished by Stone Cold Steve Austin. You see, at Survivor Series, it means so much more than just the personalities that are involved. It's about ending what Vince McMahon has tried to accomplish. I sat there at that desk on Monday and I listened to Mick Foley, and I agreed with everything Mick Foley had to say, that the WWF truly does suck. Don't boo me. Have you watched a television show lately? Vince McMahon has lost his mind. The man doesn't have it anymore. He's a has-been. His ideas are antiquated. His concepts are draconian. And Mick Foley was right, because the WWF is imploding from within. Like every great empire, the WWF is imploding from within. Vince's loyal employees like Stone Cold left him. Like Mick Foley wants nothing to do with him. Vince's own children want him to burn in hell, and I don't blame them. Vince McMahon will see the WWF die this Sunday at Survivor Series, and he has no hope to save his precious company. Vince McMahon has the same chances of saving the WWF as he did of realising his dream of starting a football league. I want you to know that I was down on my knees because I know you're used to men kissing your ass, Vince. Every time you walk in the back, there's Patterson and Briscoe. Oh, what a great idea you had, Vince. You like men kissing your ass, don't you, Vince? Because that's what you're all about. A billionaire. The billionaire Vince McMahon. The creator of sports entertainment. I've waited so long to see you face to face like this. And I've waited so long to tell you to your face that I hate your stinking guts. And it's not just me, it's your children that hate your stinking guts. Vince, at Survivor Series, your children are going to do to you what I've waited my whole life to see someone do to you, Vince. You are, so help me God, the most disgusting, vile son of a bitch I've ever seen in my life. You took Hulk Hogan's blood and you built Titan Towers. You stole Bret Hart's dream, and with that money bought yourself an aeroplane with WWF all over it. You did that, and you know it, you son of a bitch. You stole Shawn Michaels' smile. Took your company public and made yourself a billionaire. But not a self-made billionaire like you like to tell everybody you are. Oh no, see, you're a billionaire on other people's hard work. Your father, Vince McMahon, your father went around the country and shook the hand. You know I'm telling the truth, don't you? You know in your heart I'm telling you the truth that your father shook the hand of every promoter in this country that he'd ever competed against them, and that his son would never compete against them. And when your father died, you competed. And with your ruthless, merciless, take no prisoners attitude, you drove everybody out of business, didn't you, Vince? You ran all the competition into the ground and you stole all their ideas and you made yourself a billionaire out of it. And you know whose ideas you stole the most, Vince? You stole mine. See, I don't give a damn about Don Owen and Sam Muchnick and Jim Crockett. I care about what you did to my family, me and my family. How you stole my dreams, how you stole my legacy, how you stole everything that Extreme Championship Wrestling represented. Because while Doink the Clown had green hair and a rubber nose, Stone Cold Steve Austin was drinking his first beer in ECW, damn you. While Bobby Heenan and Gene Okerlund were dancing around singing Tutti Frutti, ECW was producing the edgy TV that you named Attitude. Oh, we've got attitude. You've got nothing, man. What you've got is my ideas, and you stole my life, my money, my legacy. Screw you, and screw your family. I'll tell you something. Your own children hate your guts. And on Sunday, your children are going to get even with you for everything you stole from me, from everything you stole from them. You flaunt your affairs in front of your wife. You flaunt your affairs in Playboy for your children to read. You bastard. Look at Taz. Look at Taz. This man was a killer. He was a machine. He was a wrestler, a great wrestler, a real man. But wrestling is a dirty word to you, isn't it, Vince? Your father built a wrestling company and you had to have sports entertainment. We have to have sports entertainment. Ha 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 ha. He was a wrestler. He was a great wrestler. He was a man. And now he's a fat, little, obnoxious colored commentator, and not even a good one. He's a sports entertainer. He's not a wrestler because you made wrestling a dirty word. You made wrestling a dirty word, Vince. What kind of a man are you? What kind of a man takes wrestling and makes it sports entertainment? At Survivor Series, you're going down. You're going down, Vince. I promise you, you're going down. And I'm going to watch it. And your children are going to lift their leg and stand over your grave. And we're going to laugh. And you know what else I'm going to do, Vince? I'm going to run your ass out of business. And there's not a damn thing you can do about it. Paul Heyman shoot promo on Vince McMahon. SmackDown, November 15th, 2001.